I was going to say you're just about to whistle really high pitch.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so we want to start softly. We are just looking now at a marketing plan. Now, last year you have had some insight already into distribution and marketing. We did talk about marketing then and about digital marketing. So some of those things should still be kind of in your mind. Obviously now we are more looking at the different kinds of marketing. Obviously back then it was film marketing and marketing of video products. Now it is creating video moving image products as a way to market something else, a concept, an idea, a product, a company, or something of the sort. All right? So we need to pay attention at slightly different things. So the easiest way to remember how to do a good marketing plan is those four elements. So firstly, in order to start, well, should I just read? Should I do a kind of, because I've kind of gone a little bit too text heavy on these ones. So the only way to start a business venture with confidence is to develop a good marketing plan, one that's backed up with facts and research. This document clearly shows how you'll attract customers to your product or service to persuade them to buy. The marketing plan also builds confidence with financial institutions, showing lenders that your business has a good chance of being successful. So, for example, that if, like, I can tell you actually a real world example, even though I didn't end up starting the business, but quite a few years back I was going to start up and create Ipswich's first escape room, and I had a business plan how to do it, but I needed £12,000 as a kind of startup capital, which I didn't have. So because I had kind of not bad credit history, I thought I'd go to my bank and before going to the bank, I actually had a chat with somebody who had done a similar approach, approaching a bank for a business loan, and they said, actually, business plan is all good and well, you do need your marketing plan, especially things like escape rooms, which very much are either word of mouth or social media because of the types of crowds that it attracts, because there's young audiences, generally often like office workers and families to some degree. But it's all about social media, so I've needed to create a marketing plan for that. Actually, I should have brought that one in, shouldn't I? Anyways, and that actually, he said that was actually a condition for them to see that, okay, you can have as good a business plan as possible, but if you don't know how to attract customers, then you're in trouble, and you only know how to attract customers once you can show your marketing plan. Contrary to popular belief, a marketing plan is not a one-time effort to sit in a binder on your desk. Contrary, it should be updated on a regular basis to reflect the changing needs of your business and customers. There are many different models for marketing plans. Here are 4 essential ingredients. Okay, so if you were running your own company, you would kind of continuously update your business plan, because according to the SWOT analysis, some of those threats might become real. Suddenly your core audience might shift. So suddenly you need to adjust your plans for how to address potential clients and so on and so forth. So everything's constantly changing. Markets are always changing. There are opportunities that might lead you to need to create some instant customer engagement. Set clear marketing objectives. Okay, so marketing objectives are really important. So marketing objectives can include total market share and segments, total number of customers, and the retention rate. Can anybody explain what the retention rate is?
How much you retain?
Yes, but what does it mean? Like if we are talking about...
Is it in a customer context?
Yes.
I'm sure it's with returning customers, the amount of customers that stay loyal?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that was very fast. Sorry, I had to process that a little bit.
Sorry, I talk really fast as well.
You should share some of those Kahoot chats. Yay! Anyways, yes. So customer retention in for businesses that are not dependent on one-off customers, but actually, repeat customers. Customer retention is an important part. The proportion of your potential market that makes purchases, also called the penetration rate. Okay, so So let's just kind of remember these terms, because that is actually really important terminology that needs to also feature in your marketing plans. Okay, so the proportion of your potential market that makes purchases. Okay, so if you are thinking, yeah, I'm doing something for young people between the ages of 12 and 25, okay, you can't say that your potential customers are going to be the 4.5 million people in the UK who are between 12 and 25, okay, because out of those, people who will only buy your snazzy gloves with which you can operate your mobile phone even whilst having them on is only going to be interested to people who are cold and people who have got mobile phones, for example. Okay, so hence you kind of need to look at that. Then you can also see, like, okay, who are the kind of people who can't afford gloves? Okay, let's take everybody below the poverty line away. Okay, so suddenly you've got 10% that also fall away. Okay, so you need to be realistic with the penetration rate of people to buy a particular product, and then you can actually target it at particular people. Okay, so for example, these gloves for people who use mobile phones, you might want to target people who use mobile phones. Well, how do you best target them? Well, for example, it could be through social media, because they want to swipe through Instagram and they're really annoyed that they need to do it with their nose if their fingers are cold, and I don't know, whatever. You get an idea of how to kind of narrow down your actual realistic potential market audience. And then the average size of volumes of purchases. This is more like for goods and so on. So this is not an exhaustive list. Obviously, these are examples of market objectives that you could include. The objectives obviously will spell out some kind of outcome. So, for example, for proportion of your potential potential market that makes the purchases, as a person who creates a video for a particular audience and with a marketing plan to go it, you might not want to measure success by saying, once people have bought 1,000 gloves, yay, job well done, because it's not necessarily because of your advert that they have bought the gloves. Maybe it's just because it was top ranked on a Google search. Okay, it might be that you set a kind of more realistic or more measurable target, what we also call a SMART target. Do you know what SMART targets are?
Strategic.
I did.
Okay, so first is specific.
Specific, attainable, or is it achievable? Because
SMART, not
Realistic
SALT.
and
oh yeah, I
Time
can't spell. That's
That's all right.
that's true.
Marketing.
No. it's-
Strategic marketing.
No. It's what they should be. Your
Manageable?
targets.
Manageable.
It could have been manageable, but it's not.
Managed.
Valuable?
Measurable.
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 So specific,
Specific, measurable,
measurable,
attainable, realistic, and
Time-bound.
Timely. Yeah. A. I don't know if A is correct. Attainable. Let me just.
It's something like that.
Can somebody quickly Google that? Actually. Go on. Somebody with a quick Google.
See this written back.
Not available.
achievable.
Achievable. Okay.
I knew it was
Attainable.
one of the two.
Achievable. That sounds good. All right. Anyways, so SMART targets for your objective. Okay. So my aim will be to get 10,000 views on a video that I'm producing for this within SMART with a T, within 2 weeks of being public, for example. Okay, that would be both very specific. It would be measurable because there's 10,000 views. It's achievable. It's sorry, what was R now again? Oh.
Realistic.
Realistic, yeah, it's also realistic, hopefully, and it's timely because you have set a time boundary. Because if you say like just 10,000, it could be 10,000 by tomorrow, 10,000 by next year. Okay, so this is the way that you can set your marketing objectives with a SMART target. Okay, So it can either have to do with the potential reach to your audiences, or it could be the total number of customers, or so on and so forth. I think one of Joe's smart targets was that if it was a real event that he was using the VR headset for, he would have, I think he set a smart target of 100 people in a day engaging with that VR experience. That was kind of his smart target. He didn't have to carry it out, but he had to set a realistic target of who would interact and how that video product would be brought to potential customers to then ask more about this charity. All right, number 2. Situation analysis. Yeah, I'm really sorry, and I'm also struggling a little bit to read stuff. Is the window open? Yeah. So this is where you do your SWOT analysis, basically. So to be honest, I don't need to say too much more about the SWOT analysis. So there's not a SWOT analysis about yourself. There's a SWOT analysis about the business, okay, or the campaign that or the product that you are supposedly representing, okay. If we did a SWOT analysis about, let's say, this course, okay, what are the strengths, the weaknesses of the course? What are the opportunities and what are the threats of the course? Okay, and then you could think about it, okay, well, you know, how am I going to market this course? So maybe it's kind of trying to mitigate some of the weaknesses, you know, or turn the weaknesses into positives if you feel that the outwardly perception of the negatives is quite strong, or there are some amazing opportunities actually that are quite good and also not false. So then it's kind of maybe worth highlighting those. So by creating a SWOT analysis of the product, for example, or something like this course, or a particular political cause, or whatever, you know, it's giving them a good old SWOT analysis can be really, really, or is going to be really useful to understand what angle to use. There's quite famously a marketing campaign that went wrong, but then actually went very right for a university, the University of Lincoln, I think.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
What? Is that about the zombie videos and things? Yeah, Tom Scar did those.
Tom Scar, exactly. Yeah.
What was it?
So
You know the guy that does Asda's movie?
No.
Basically, there's
I'll just very briefly show.
Just show the university video.
Yeah.
Pretty cute.
Actually, no, better on Business, better on
This was serious. I've been to Lincoln. It's a shit town.
I'm just including between us.
It's untrue.
Lincoln's quite nice actually.
Yeah.
Lincoln's really nice.
I'm just thinking of a bit in between.
There are 3, you have to show all 3.
Yeah. Or this was like final year project. Because they're so short, we might as well switch them all.
Yeah. Let me just get rid of this ad. Come on.
Have you ever been to a lecture?
Yeah.
Was that lecture on fire?
What?
Boring lecture! University of Lincoln!
How's last one?
Did he get first for this?
I don't.
He nearly got expelled for this.
Really?
But then they
Yeah.
saw
To
how
write
many views it
anything
had.
on your computer, you need
never
to
liked
get grounded.
Well, the thing is, they didn't really understand how advertising to young people works.
Where do you study? Lincoln.
Lincoln.
The University of their hair.
How much was the bloody production value?
He's a wizard and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Literal
Yeah.
Drinks is one of my favourite videos ever.
So yeah.
Is he really rich? I quite like Wizzo the
Not
Wizard.
really
That's
rich.
funny.
No, I like.
But he did an alright YouTube income. Yes.
Yeah, he's not a
Um,
millionaire, but he's doing decent.
And Phil Thomas, sorry, not Tom. Phil Thomas knows him and his wife or ex-wife,
They're
ex-girlfriend.
never married.
Never married. So
Never married.
girlfriend.
Must be
then, or-
current girlfriend.
Yeah. Anyways.
I met Tom Skerritt at Hong Kong.
Yeah, good.
Years ago.
Did you comment on that video,
Video.
the one we just watched?
Oh, well, it was a Razzies movie.
Yeah, so there again, you know, certain things can be turned around, you know, so you can have something that is seen as a weakness, you know, turn it around, you know, boring lectures, no, they're not, or whatever, you know. And again, that very much depends on your target audience, what the tone of your marketing campaign can be, because it can be tongue-in-cheek, can be quite straight-laced, it can be celebratory, it can be more thoughtful.
So he nearly got expelled over that.
Yeah.
Well, because of the whole gun things and whatnot.
Because it was quite. Because for YouTube guidelines and just like German populace, I was quite gory. So there was a lot of stuff going on with that video.
Well,
Probably
also
would've been
in terms
fine
of
as
school
long as there wasn't
shootings.
a gun
it's
in
kind
the
of-
video, but they probably would have been like, do you
It's
know
just-
what?
It's just
You can get
guns
away with
to
it.
advertise any kind of
Yeah.
educational establishment
Oh, damn,
is
that's
a
the
bit
end.
dodgy. But, you know, again, I've
You're going to
Yeah.
regret saying these next words, aren't you?
well, yeah, no, okay. Anyways.
Oh, you want to know now?
Just say it and we'll use your words sparingly.
No, what I'm saying is I don't mind you pushing the boundaries. Okay? You're not going to find out until you kind of cross certain lines where the lines are.
Alright, who's ready to make James
So,
Bond?
you know.
You won't find out until you get your results back and it's just a big fat zero. Okay.
Well, no, that
Sorry, please.
the thing that I always think, and you know that was my whole thing when they wanted to ban any videos or any video content created here on campus that included guns or any kind of weapons-based violence.
I understand that,
And
but at the same point.
I kind of said, yeah, it's fine to have a kind of general ban. However, well, no, didn't agree with the general ban. Sorry, I said that if students can make a kind of can write a statement along the lines of why certain items needed to be included, why there's smoking on screen, why there's gratuitous violence or whatnot, then that's okay because they've actually made a conscious choice about it rather than, because I mean there's a lot of kind of 15, 16-year-olds who kind of run around and the first thing that they want to do when you say like, oh, make a film, is they're going to get like a few guns and just say, pew pew, okay, this is drama. This is not what drama is. Okay, you don't just need to create drama because somebody's pointing a gun at your face. You know, it's finger gun. Very. Anyways, okay. So this was the second part.
See you later, James Bond.
All right. SWOT analysis. You are familiar with that, so I'm going to go right over it. Target market profile. Okay. So a demographic portrait of your target audience. So if you want to sell MacBook laptops to people, you need to find out A, the current sales figures, who is currently buying laptops, and B, you can try and find out from Steve Jobs or whatever, maybe not Steve himself,
It's,
but
Like I'm now imagining us all sitting around
It's
a Ouija
something
board,
else.
just
I'd
sort of like,
like to
Steve.
speak
It's
to
something
Steve
else,
Jobs.
I think.
Yeah.
It's his manager.
yeah.
Community manager.
But
yeah.
you would have to kind of find out, okay, well, are there maybe markets that they are not penetrating that they ought to, where there's maybe an opportunity? So that's in the SWOT analysis, where's the opportunity? So maybe your target audience could be different to the current audience or customer base. Okay, or it could be to keep catering for that customer base. So for example, Apple would be very aware if, for example, the user base for people, creative people between the ages of 30 and 45 are buying less and less MacBooks. They would see that in their statistics, and they'll be like, okay, hang on, we need a new marketing campaign to kind of reinvigorate the market specifically targeted at 30 to 45-year-old people, because damn it, they have become smarter and have stopped buying our products. Whatever, you know, it's one of those things that just because a product has got a particular customer base, that it is necessarily restricted to just that customer base. Okay. I mean, you could say the same thing for here, this course. So, for example, if we're marketing this course outwardly, obviously our main target audience is everybody who's turning 18 and either coming out of here or from adjoining colleges in the region. That's our absolute target audience. But it might be that actually we're doing all right with that, and maybe those people would come anyways without kind of additional advertising. So maybe we kind of start a new marketing campaign that is looking at mature students, you know, who just have young families, and we can assure them that one of the strengths of this course is the flexibility to allow them to also take care of young families or whatever.
And might get maybe foreign students.
Foreign students, exactly. So that would be a completely different marketing
Or, I mean,
campaign.
you guys are missing the main one. People who are 18 outside of the institute background.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
The
That's-
French.
People who are stabbing people.
that's like, you just don't need to change your,
Stabbers.
you don't need to change your, like, advertising that much that way, like, from what it already is. You just need to target it outside of
Yeah.
where you already are.
Exactly, and that's where you can really have a look at, okay, what are your opportunities, but also where are the threats, where are the kind of nearest competition. So, for example, we've got a big university, you know, with Essex University, who does do also some film-related degrees. Okay, but that is obviously that will take some of the local people as well. So then it's okay. Can you target your marketing campaign slightly differently to target students that would not naturally go to University of Essex to kind of come to here, for example? I mean, I'm using this as an example because obviously I know
I mean,
this
it worked
inside
for
out.
me.
Sorry?
Worked for me.
Oh, there we go.
I was going to do film studies.
If
Oh,
I went
right,
there,
okay.
I would have got lost every day. It's huge. I
What
went there last
changed
night.
you?
Oh,
It's
if I
huge,
went there,
it's
I'd be
very
fine.
big, yeah.
I wouldn't even found my door, I
Exams,
don't think.
not
In all
having to do
fairness,
exams here.
boyfriend's
pretty
playing
much,
security there, so we just managed to go, look, I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm here, do you know where I have to go?
Alrighty,
We could have a
good.
box
Does
in
that
that.
make sense? So demographic portrait, but also second part is also purchase motivation. Why do people buy stuff?
Impulse.
Okay, so well, yeah, is it an impulse buy? So if it's an impulse buy, your marketing campaign could be like a video of something like, okay, with a countdown and saying like, in 5 minutes, this offer is going to expire. Buy it now to secure yourself the special price of only $25.99.
So basically a Shark vacuum or floor cleaner commercial, got it.
You're literally just doing like the marketing channel.
Yeah.
Look, like sort of like comes on like ITV at like
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning.
Well, the teleshopping.
Yeah.
Buy this now, and it's only
JNL.
$3.99.
Buy this now. Fucking
You
buy
know
it
that
now.
will be $3.99.
you know that you could actually using some of the stuff that we did for interactive video, you could use time-based markers on interactive videos. So where actually somebody kind of watches a video with an advert and say, well, actually, if you don't click here within the next 30 seconds to kind of purchase, you know, the price is just going to go up.
Click it. Do it now, please. Stop.
We do offer student discount.
Alrighty. Fourth in line is determine your marketing strategy. Okay, so from that you then determine what am I going to do to attract the right audience, to tackle the right strengths or weaknesses or opportunities or threats, and also to meet my marketing objectives. Okay, so this is then what are you then actually going to be doing. The first three are all about identifying areas. The fourth one is about what are you actually going to be doing, because it is then your marketing strategy that goes forward to create whatever assets you need to, in order to do amazing social media posts, to do interactive experience for people, to launch a new TV ad or whatever. So So important is, what will your media mix look like? Your choice of marketing vehicles will be governed by the profile of your target market, so you need to understand how different vehicles reach different audiences. Okay, there's it's one of those things that you need to really be aware of how do people get to see certain products. Certain videos, I mean. And the costliest options are usually advertising, sales, promotion, public relations campaigns. Referrals and networking are lower cost ways to reach customers. Digital marketing is a powerful strategy because it is inexpensive and effective in reaching target markets. Okay? So everything that goes via social media, via websites and whatnot is relatively cheap. But if you were marketing something that's quite high profile, big budget, you could then consider obviously television, which is considered one of the most expensive ways, but at the same time it has got one of the biggest talkability factors still at this point of time. Not forever, but it will have for some time to go. Good. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, each of you will have to think about what are you going to be marketing.
Tom's actually just going to whip out his perfume advert.
I was actually thinking about that. Get Tom to market some.
Yeah. So think about it. It doesn't need to be just a product. It can be an idea, a cause of some sort. It can be an organization. It can be a company.
I actually have an idea already.
Could market our final major
You always
project.
come up with ideas a few weeks ago. I wasn't that much.
I might just star in communism.
Shut up.
Market
You want
your
to,
like
you want to
final
market
major
communism.
Yeah, do it.
Do you not see?
It's going so well for China.
Just go and see Lenin. Go and see his nice, cute body.
I'll take the 360 camera and just shove it in the middle of
Whose
it.
body?
Lenin.
Who?
Don't
He's
worry.
a former communist leader. Was it Germany or Russia?
Russia.
Mr.
Because I
Lenin.
remember watching Goodbye
Soviet
Lenin and then
Russia.
there suddenly being like in Germany with the Berlin Wall divide, and that film messed my head up.
I might just advertise for
Soviet
Jack.
Russia.
Okay, no.
I might market my final major.
What's yours going to be
You can't
about?
market your final major project because your final major project
I'm going
doesn't
to
exist
market
yet.
Oh, has it got to be an existing product?
Well, yeah.
Do you even know what your final major
Because
project's
what
gonna be?
would the content of your marketing campaign be then otherwise? That's why I'm kind of saying try to market something that is real. Okay, even though your marketing campaign itself doesn't need to be external. If you are looking for opportunities to do something that's real and actionable, okay. I know that Richard was very happy with Georgie's contribution, so because Georgie did it obviously for UCC, and Richard was great in kind of providing guidance for that. So if it's anything kind of institute related, that is obviously something easy to do. And then we can also there are, so you could obviously market individual courses if you wanted around here. In terms of products, I'm trying to think if there's anything that one could do. There we go. There's Richard. Hello. Hi. Yeah, different room this time.
Yes.
This is our new hideaway. The other one was clearly too big. Do you remember last year, 3 students and 18 chairs around us?
I was more computers than people, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far more computers than people. 6-1, the computers to student ratio. At least for the 3rd years. But yeah, so it's all for games
Yeah.
now. And here this is kind of 1 computer per person. Which is
Yeah.
not bad. Sorry, so to introduce Richard Cutter, who's the head of marketing department over. Is that
Well,
correct?
not-
Not the head.
No,
but
no.
yeah.
So I look
Market-
after the digital marketing, the website, and a lot of business-to-business stuff that the college does. So I had to get involved in the vast majority of things that we do here.
Yeah.
So Julian's asked me to sort of come over and talk a bit about what we do. So I've put together some stuff about basically what a marketing strategy is, what a marketing plan is, what a marketing brief is, and what a creative brief is, because they're all different things and they'll all be relevant to what you may do as part of your future
They're here at the top.
careers. So what year are you guys all in? Year 3.
Okay, let me just get this. Alrighty.
Yeah, so basically at the college here, so obviously we have to put together a marketing strategy that caters for our needs. So ultimately we are a higher education provider. So our marketing strategy really is to do everything we can to recruit students to study here. So that's what we're in. We're basically selling an education. So our strategy has to be catered to that in every way possible and cover every facet of it, whether it's for mature students, guys of your age, and for year 12 and 13 students who haven't decided what they're going to do yet. So, effective marketing starts with a considered, well-informed marketing strategy. So there's no point just going into something without having done any intelligence or just doing it totally blind. You know, otherwise you could end up spunking your budget up the wall on something totally irrelevant, and that's no good for anyone. So a good marketing strategy should help you define your vision, mission, and your business goals. So the college has a set of clearly defined what our mission is, you know, i.e. to be financially self-sustainable. What our business goals are is to generate enough income to keep us all in jobs. Yeah, in a nutshell, it's not worded like that, but that's essentially what it means. So, and to ensure that the education that we're providing is industry focused, it's relevant, it's contemporary, it's modern, and it will help you guys to get careers in your chosen roles, whatever your vocation is when you finish, what aspect of video production or film production that you move into is to help prepare you to be able to hit the ground running when you leave it, basically. So a marketing strategy affects the way that you run your entire business, so it should be planned and developed in consultation with the relevant stakeholders. So for example, what I mean by that is that we have to work with anyone that has a vested interest. So the senior management of the college, tutors, students themselves, alumni, our support departments, anyone that in any way, shape or form has to have some sort of input, would have to be involved in the production of a marketing strategy. So it's worth bearing that in mind for whatever you put together yourself. So it's a wide-reaching and it's a comprehensive strategic planning tool that so basically describes your business and its products and its services. In this case, for UCC, our services is providing a higher education experience, really. So it explains the position and the role of our products and services in the market, i.e. we are an industry-focused institution for local and regional learners. So we're not some of the larger universities that recruit students from geographically far away. So there's not many people that come, correct me if I'm wrong, there might be someone in the room that have come to study in Colchester from the Outer Hebrides or North Wales. It's a little bit different in
I think that's more the case with the games. With the games course, I think they've got quite a far geographic. I think games and the music one, exactly. The music has got a
musical theatre and I suppose the games, as it's a new one, are probably the two. Well, musical theatre, we've had people from New Zealand, South Africa, so that is one that has a slightly wider audience.
But it's got a kind of long reputation, hasn't it? Like at least that particular course.
I believe it was pretty much the first of its kind when it was created. The musical theatre one, all those years ago, there was nowhere else that did anything like it that combined all three major disciplines into one course. So that's what we are, an industry-focused higher education institution that caters for local and regional learners by and large. So the plan is to profile our customers and our competition. So our customers are young and mature students. So we have higher education learners of everything from 18 up to I believe there was an 80-year-old guy on a music
There
course.
was, yeah.
Excuse me, I think he only stopped because he needed a hip replacement for it. So our competition is larger universities in the region. So what I mean by that is larger red brick universities without a mixed provision campus. That's what I'd say is our competition for it. So it has to identify the marketing tactics that we will use. So i.e. we want to raise an awareness of who we are, what we do, what we offer, and put an emphasis on what are our niche qualities. So the smaller class sizes, one-to-one tuition, the stuff that you don't get in the sort of battery hen kind of experience at some other universities that I've been to and seen. So it has to be a strategic planning tool that allows us to build a marketing plan and then measure its effectiveness, i.e. to make sure that it's working. So our marketing plan has to, the overall goal is recruitment, i.e. the number of enrolled students. So a measure of its effectiveness will be the number of enrolled students that we get at the start of each academic year. That would be a measure of the effectiveness of our marketing. So that is essentially what you need to consider before putting together a marketing strategy. So, in a nutshell, so what is a marketing strategy? It basically sets the overall goals and direction for our marketing, and it's therefore different from the marketing plan, which I'll come to in a minute. So, yeah, our marketing strategy kind of is developed in line with the college's strategy, so it's like a 3-year plan. So our 3-year plan is to work with a new validating partner such as University of East Anglia to put on X amount of new courses and retain X amount of students from our further education courses. So that's essentially what our strategy would include. So now we come to a marketing plan. So each of these has a different thing. So a marketing plan is kind of it's almost like the schematic, the drawing for everything. So everything that we would need to do in order to implement and achieve the goals in our marketing strategy, we need to have a marketing plan. You can't just go out there and not do anything in a structured, logical way, plan ahead, otherwise you'll just be doing stuff off the cuff and it may or may not be effective. So it's like it says here, it's a blueprint that outlines how we're going to implement our marketing strategy and the resources that we'll use to achieve these for it. So, and then on an even smaller scale, what is a marketing brief? So this is probably more relevant to what you guys would be doing potentially as part of your roles. So say that there might be one particular marketing initiative as part of our strategy, which we've got in the plan. So a marketing brief is used to lay the framework for that. So it's to be able to put together a marketing brief and then go out to, say for example, the video production guy in my team, say to him, this is what we need to do, or to go out to the copywriters and say, this is what you need to do. So I've got providing them with a marketing brief for in order for them to be able to do what I need to put together, whether it be a video for social media, whether it's a poster, so that can then meet our marketing objective. So then we come to what is a creative brief. So this would be more relevant to you guys. Say for example, if you've been commissioned to make a film, or if you've been commissioned to make a small advert or something, so you've been given your marketing brief and they've told you what it is they want to do. So for example, someone wants you to make a small video that promotes how good a new bar that's opening up on the high street is. So the creative brief, that's going to be the foundation of the advertising that you make. So it's for creatives. So if I'm speaking to a designer, I need to give them a creative brief so that they don't start going off on a tangent, going off in a different direction, you know, doing something that's not going to be, although it might look good, it won't be entirely relevant to what we do. So a creative brief, it's an account team or a designer or a creative director's interpretation of the client's wishes. So sometimes they will put one together themselves, but in my experience, certainly here, I find it easier to do both. myself. So I'll say give them a marketing brief and then also give them a creative brief. Certainly when we worked with a external design team to redevelop aspects of the website, we had to keep them on quite a tight leash because they weren't necessarily the way they were going. It was not necessarily what we wanted them to do for it. So it's the job of a good account manager or a planner to extract everything possible from a client in order to put that together. So does that make sense? Does everyone understand what the difference is from the way that I've explained it there? So there are sort of 4 different aspects to it. So you've got your overall strategy, you've got your plan, then you've got, on a sort of micro level, you've got your brief, and then even smaller than that, you've got your creative brief.
I'm just writing it down here.
Yeah, sure. So something that comes up quite a lot that people ask, and you'll probably come across this, is what is the difference between a marketing brief and a creative brief? Because people will, the chances are that the terms they use will be interchangeable. They might mean one thing and they might mean another for it. So basically, a creative brief is something that can often come across as too generic or complicated or hard to complete. A good marketing brief should enable you to streamline the creative process and basically rein that brief in for it. So, how do they relate to each other? So, marketing basically is the business of processing and creating relationships with and satisfying customers. So, we create a relationship with you guys by the fact that you've come to study here, and we want to satisfy you by you having a good experience and achieving a degree and going on to have a rewarding and financially well remunerated career. So in this case, I wish to sell the idea of my product, which is a course, to potential customers, so potential students, through the use of, this is an example from last year actually, where your predecessors put together an example of stuff that I then housed on the website. So I use that as an example. So I want to sell the course by having examples of really good bits of work produced by you guys as part of your class for it. So therefore, my marketing brief is to achieve one of my objectives from the strategy of getting an increase of people to engage and sign up for this newly validated film production course, and then to achieve my longer term goal, which is an increase of students each year that apply on it. So the creative brief has to meet the requirements of my marketing brief by your predecessors producing a variety of attractive and exciting examples of work across any format that we could fit in the website. So whether it was an MP4 file, something uploaded into YouTube, a gallery of images, whatever it was, or the finished thing, if it was a GIF, we would then house that in the website. So that then provides what I'd say is a credibility enhancer. It's all very well having a nice looking website, but if you've got nothing to back it up with in terms of something that people can identify with. So if you were looking, say when you guys wanted to apply to do your degree, I'm assuming that you would have taken some interest in what modules you were studying, what you'd have been doing in each one of them. So in order to back that up, so it's all very well having a module listed on the website and it's just a load of text, but actually having a visual stimulus, something that you can identify with and think, yeah, that looks the nuts, I'd like to come here and do that. That's what I would say is a credibility enhancer, something that, you know, shows the authenticity of what you're doing for it. So therefore, last year, their creative brief, my marketing brief was I wanted them to help me sell the course by putting some attractive content on a web page in its simplest forms, and your creative brief was to do that through creating a variety of work that represented what you do on this course, essentially, for it. So does that kind of make sense as well, then, what I'm saying sort of here?
So a lot of the specifics of what you're actually doing are in the creative brief by spelling out exactly what kind of video, what kind of content.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. So
that's where
that's where there's the sort of the hierarchy there. So the strategy is the overarching key.
Yeah. The
plan is the blueprint for how you're going to achieve the strategy. The brief is how you're going to achieve certain parts of that and a certain aspect of the plan for it. And the creative brief is what the, I mean, my background, I was a graphic designer by trade before I was an image editor, before I moved into working on websites. So I suppose you could say that the creative brief is your instructions to provide a solution to a design problem in a creative way, if that makes sense, what I'm saying there for it. So that's what the clear sort of hierarchy there would be. So I suppose when you guys finish, what are you mostly looking at going into then?
Just general sort of film and TV production, just anything I can get really.
Yeah. So in the broadcast industry, in some aspect, but you're not entirely certain of what sort of area you want to. So, but the chances are that you will be at least exposed or have to have some input into a creative brief as part of that. So if you're working as part of a television production crew, so a mate of mine he works for a company, it's not consistent work, it's seasonal, so he's part of the production company that puts together Come Dine With Me, so he's a researcher for that. He also has to do various parts of things to do with actually sourcing which location, suitable people for it, so it's quite an interesting thing. But I don't think, because obviously they film that series in quite a short space of time, so they might be doing one town over a couple of weeks, and then that might only be 4 months worth of work, and then he'll work on something different. So a lot of it is a commission based thing, but he would obviously he would be given a brief as to look for slightly eccentric characters we want to target this part of the country, to go there and to find that out for that really. Yeah, so basically, how do you construct a marketing brief? So you probably wouldn't be too involved in the strategic side of it or putting together the plan, the more logistical thing, but more for what you guys may be working in. So when you construct a marketing brief, you'll need to remember that a marketing brief should serve the following purposes. So it needs to explain and communicate the purpose of the initiative in very simple language. It can't be full of jargon, acronyms, wishy-washy stuff. It needs to say, so for example, last year's one, in this case, the purpose of the initiative is to come up with an interactive and visually creative digital media projects that will be housed on the college website that showcase the work that you guys do. So that's a very simple, so it's just basically saying, whatever projects you make, I will then, provided it's in a format that can go onto the website, we will showcase it on there. So that's a very simple explanation of that. So the marketing brief, it needs to identify and set the goals of the initiative. So you need to have an end goal in everything. When you play football, the end goal is to score more goals than the other team. Cricket, more runs. Basketball, more points. Rugby, more points. So it's the same with this. So in this case, our goal is the overarching aim of this market initiative was to showcase the nature and the scope of the work that you could do here. So whether it's with the 360 oscillating spinning camera, if it's making time-lapse videos, if it was making a series of GIFs, whatever you guys produced, that was part of that. So it's whatever could be undertook, we wanted to show that on the website in an attractive way. So also the next part will be to set numerical and measurements for the success of the campaign. So the ultimate success of this brief would be that potential students are inspired to apply and then converted into enrolled students. So the fact that we're now sitting here and there's double the amount of people in the room than there was last year suggests that we're on the right lines to an extent. And that's not the only reason why there would be more people in here. It's a newer course, it's slowly building a reputation and so on for it. But that would be one way I could quantify that that's been successful, by an increase in people viewing the page, clicking through to UCAS, applying for that course and then turning up here in September. So I could then justify that as what we did by putting a load of attractive stuff on there that people have clicked and watched as justification for what we've done. So it also needs to set the tone of the message and identify the targeted segment. So by this I mean its purpose. That relates more to advertising campaigns and their intended audience, but it's still a useful thing to be aware of. So the tone of the message, normally if we're making a poster or a series of GIFs or videos on social media, what's the tone of the message, what's the call to action, that sort of thing is what's that for. So in this case, where you made videos and stuff, there wasn't necessarily a message in it. It was more a showcase of the pucker stuff that you do in here. But if we're making a video on social media to get people to come to get adult learners to come to an event we do in the spring, so we want to have a message that you're never too young to learn, you can change career. We need to identify that for it. So the next bit will be the keys to a marketing brief. Got to make it easy to follow. So I hope by the way that I've segmented this, that I've made what I'm talking about easy to follow. I don't. Obviously, stop me if there's anything that you don't understand about. But I would say that the way we've gone through that is fairly clear what the overall strategy for it. So it's got to be easy to follow. It's got to be engaging, as in you want to interact with it. It's got to be relevant. There's no point making a brief that's nothing to do with what your actual goal is, otherwise it will fail. And it's got to be factual. So if you want to end up with the result that you want, then your requirements must be clear. So as I touched on earlier, stay away from using acronyms, industry lingo, stuff that doesn't mean anything to anyone apart from the people that are involved in it. So the next thing, knowing your audience. So through the analytical stuff that I do, I have to know exactly who looks at our website, what they do on it, who our audience are. So I know that we have, UCC has a mixture of 18 to 21-year-old students. We have a mixture of students that have progressed from further education, stayed with us. We have older learners that work in their industry and that in order to earn more money they need a degree, so they come study with us part-time. We have a lot of the very industry-led stuff, the engineering, the construction. You get to a certain level, you need to come and do your evening tickets or whatever it is, come here and do it with us. So I have to know every single part of our audience in order to implement what I want to do. So what is a marketing brief used for? It can be used for anything. You think we do here, we do PR campaigns, advertising, positioning campaigns we don't touch on too much. Websites, for example, the college owns a lease on the Minories Galleries on the High Street, so we've just made them a new website. Marketing communications is a massive thing. So a marketing brief is anything that is intended to market something, you need to break down into a marketing brief in order to achieve that.
What is the actual thing that you mentioned, the positioning campaign? What is that?
That's a difficult one to explain. I probably shouldn't have included that in here. It's kind of, the way I interpret it is, it's kind of getting our position in a market, so to speak.
Where we sit.
Amongst our competitors, or certainly it's probably more relevant, I'd say, or it's used more often in terms of the business to business stuff that we do, where we're competing against other regional colleges, independent training providers, the sort of cowboy apprenticeship places that pop up and take poor old 16-year-old kids on, and then it's not the job that they've applied for. That sort of thing is where our position is in respect to our competitors, really.
Okay.
So what should be included in a marketing brief? So depending on the nature of the activity, the points below will need to be considered. So if you are, let's just say that you're working for a production company, or you're about a production company, you've been commissioned by a production company to do something, so they would provide you with this. So, because they want you to create something to cater for what their marketing brief is. So, if your marketing brief has been created specifically for outside resources, don't make assumptions. Don't assume that people know. So if we were working with an external contractor here, I wouldn't want to assume that they understood everything. If I said, FE, HE, work-based learning, WBL, stuff like that, they're going to be sitting there thinking, what on earth is he on about? So it's best to take the time to include a brief background of the company as well as the product and or service you're marketing. So it's not rocket science, really. So say if you worked for you were trying to be a salesman for someone, you would have to know your stuff. You know, if you turn up at someone's house with a vacuum cleaner in your car and you tried to vlog it, you'd have to know what you're talking about in order to even have an attempt at selling that, basically. And it's the same with this. So you need to include the reasons and the objectives to the marketing brief. So why are you doing this? What is the purpose of the marketing brief, and what are you trying to accomplish? So your target market. Who's your intended audience? Who are you targeting? There's no point paying for YouTube advertising if you are primarily trying to catch the attention of 75-year-old computer illiterate people. So it's common sense, really. So you want to get you want to know your audience, their habits, their preferences, what they engage with online in order to get your product in front of them, essentially. So who are you targeting? Are there multiple segments? You know, i.e., are there, so the UCC has 4 different academic schools. Are the students different in each of them? Who should the message be written for? Is it generic? Is it catered to each individual one? You have to cater for and understand all of that.
Yeah, because you've got a few courses that are really much more aimed at mature learners.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, all the media ones are quite, just young learners.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas, for example, the counselling.
Yeah.
For example, to be a counsellor, you generally need to have some life experience. So you don't tend to find there being many people on a counselling degree who are 18, not necessarily ever paid a phone bill, still live at home. If I go in there and my life's gone upside down, and I need to talk to someone, I don't really want to talk to an 18-year-old kid that hasn't got any experience. So yeah, for example, the counselling course we do here, the majority of learners are going to be 40 plus on that, maybe 30, maybe 30 at a push. For that, majority of them are going to be older than that though. So, communication objectives. What are you trying to say? What is it that you're trying to communicate? What's the message? Generally, the message in an advert is buy this product. It's the best, essentially. Gillette, the best a man can get, which I'm not sure if they still use that, but that was the old slogan.
I think post Me Too. It's
I have a feeling it's changed. Yes, but that was their message, was our brand of razors is better than any others, and you're buying into the lifestyle of the people in our adverts by purchasing our razors, was essentially their message. So the execution plan, how are you going to implement it? How do you hope to execute the plan? You've got to know how you're going to do it, otherwise it won't get off the ground. So do you have a marketing vehicle in mind? So when I say a vehicle, I mean a platform to market, not an actual vehicle itself, like a branded car or anything. So do you have something, a platform or a method of broadcasting your campaign or initiative that you'd like to use, or are you open to suggestions? So if someone said, I think that you should use Snapchat advertising rather than putting stuff on Instagram, I'd be open to it if they could justify whether or not it's going to work. Again, it depends on the audience. So just a definition of it, a marketing vehicle is a specific tool for delivering your advertisement to a target audience. So it's a particular channel with a medium that you use to get the message across. So say for example, a particular channel would be Facebook, and we're looking at influencers of school kids, so their parents, guardians, nan, auntie, everyone. And the medium that we would use would be an animated GIF, for example. So the channel would be Facebook, the medium would be the GIF. That's what we're using to get that message across. That's a simple explanation of that. So the marketing deliverables. What's your audience going to see? So based on our objectives, communication needs, the market and the plan, what will we need? So for example, will we need a load of text or copy for an email? Will we need a postcard designed or a flyer? So you shouldn't limit yourself when putting it together, but you've got to be clear in the deliverables you're expecting. So if we get an external contractor and say, we'd like you to put together this, and what I wanted was a poster, and they came back with a 2-hour documentary, that would be, I know it's you know, a ridiculous analogy, but you get where I'm coming from. So you've got to outline the kind of end physical format. Is it going to be digital? Is it going to be printed? You've got to outline that. Don't assume that they'll know what you want. So now the mandatory stuff. What must your audience see? So the deliverables, your adverts, your campaigns, the stuff has got to be in it. So a call to action, come and study here. We're the best, that sort of thing. You know, buy now, find out more, click here. That's a call to action. So that's the sort of thing you need to have. So the hook, basically, and then you get the people to do what you want. Other things are just common sense things like logo, phone number. There's no point putting something out there if the people then see it and they think, oh, what was the name of that company? Or what was their phone number? Can't remember it. It's got to have something for them to be able to contact you. Obviously, this is a common sense one. There's going to be a timeline with deadlines, so you need to sort of nail down how long you've got for this. So if I know that we've got an open event in January, I know that we want stuff to be going out over Christmas. I want people to be seeing our adverts when they're sitting on the sofa on the 28th of watching Home Alone again. They're sitting there bored, go through Facebook. I want our advert to pop up. That's the aim of that. So as again, you just need to sort of decide your time frame. How soon do you need it done? How, you know, do you need to get signed off from people? The stages of the proof, which is all common sense. Now this bit is quite important. How do you know it's worked? So what are your goals and how will you track the success of it? So for example, if I put a campaign out and I want people to click on the buy now button and buy one of our adult art courses. So measuring that will be the amount of people that clicked from an email or clicked on an advert, came through, looked at it and thought, oh, Clay Club looks good fun, buy now. So for me, that would be a conversion, the fact they've gone through. If they then go into the college's online payment system and don't pay for it, unfortunately that's another matter. But that's how I would track the success of it. So I'd know that got put out there and that generated 5 people and that was enough for that course to run. So that's fairly easy to measure the success of certain things for it. Obviously budgets, how much money have you got to play with? There's no point going to a majorly out of your league agency or something and so they certainly we'd like you to put a video together for us. Yep, no, we only deal with campaigns that cost £1 million to put together. It'll obviously be a waste of everyone's time. So you need to ascertain how much money you've got and also how that relates to the vehicles you're going to use. So for example, Facebook advertising, you get a fairly good cost per click on it, but Snapchat seems to me a bit more expensive. That's the sort of things that we have to know about. So the next bit of it is identifying and building a creative brief from a marketing brief, which is probably the most important part. So if you were getting commissioned to do something, you want to start off by grilling the client. So if I commissioned you to make me a video, I'd expect you to ask me every question under the sun so that you'd get as much information and knowledge from that as possible. So use it. I know obviously I wouldn't expect you to sign up for a 3-year degree just to familiarise yourself with a product to work on a video, but you get the gist of it. So say for example, going back to Gillette, if I was to be commissioned to do something for them or to work for them, to promote them, I would have a shave with their razors. Or if I was to work for Just Eat, I would buy a takeaway off of one of the ones. You get the idea with that. So if it's a service, if possible, test it out, familiarise yourself with it. I can't emphasise that enough, is to familiarise yourself as much as possible with what it is you're asked to do. So if you're asked to make if you're asked to direct a satirical, political short film, familiarise yourself as much with the person you're satirising or satiring, whatever the correct. So you get where I'm coming from there.
Is that a dig at the recent video that the Conservatives have been pushing out of Keir Starmer being
I haven't.
unable? Oh no, that literally came out yesterday. The Conservative Party has kind of pushed out a social media video of Keir Starmer from Labour, kind of making it look like he was failing to answer some questions about Brexit on this morning or something like this, and then actually it's quite a backlash on that because it was re-edited to make it look like he was unable to answer that, but actually
I did read a little bit about it as well. That's kind of that's getting into the realms of fake news. Isn't it?
Exactly. But funny enough is that whilst the Conservative Party have said like, oh yeah, no, we didn't mean it quite in that way, but they got so much publicity by the fact that they did the fake news that actually a lot more people were suddenly looking at it. So for them, there's a net benefit.
Exactly.
Of actually pushing out these fake news.
Sometimes it is the, with the shock tactics, the controversial. I mean, I'd say there's a journalist who works on TalkSport. I don't know if any of you are familiar with TalkSport or if you're interested in it. He's got a guy called Adrian Durham. He's a journalist that just says the most controversial. We're not talking racist or sexist or anything. He might say that Pele or Diego Maradona was overrated. He knows if he says that he will get hundreds of people calling in, and it will generate a bubble. It will be on Twitter. And all of that will get more people tuning into TalkSport. So by him saying something that he doesn't necessarily believe, he knows that he's got. Fair enough, he's got to sit there and have the brass face to sit there and back his own potentially false argument up. But it's similar principle to that really. But I suppose if you're making whatever you're doing, familiarise yourself with as much as possible. Can't emphasise that enough really, because it will help you to understand it. I have to write articles about all sorts of really niche courses that we do to put in trade magazines, and I have to familiarise myself with them. Otherwise, I'd have to just go and plagiarise it. Otherwise, I have to know about. Not that I suggest you do that. So the more you know, the better you understand the context of what you're trying to achieve, the better your brief will be. Write everything down. Can't emphasise that enough. It's all very well going to a meeting, engaging with it, rattling loads of stuff off the top of your head, and then when you get back you think, oh sugar, I've not written anything down. So that's a very important thing. So this is quite a good sentence. By putting everything down, you'll start to see links between seemingly random thoughts and potential strategies can begin to emerge. Next would be organise your thoughts. Now you've got your raw material, you know what it is, what you're selling, what you've got to do, what you've been asked to do. You've got all that together. It's time to start organising it. So every creative brief will be different, but they've got similar traits, which are these. So there's a background, what or who it is, the target audience, the specific group of people with shared characteristics who are most likely to be interested in your product or service, the objectives, what the business wants to achieve from its marketing activity. So I'd like you to make me a video that really sells this course. That is the objective. Your tone of voice, depending on what you're doing, that's relevant. Single-minded proposition, this is one we haven't touched on. So it's a USP, what's the key message? The direction. So what has your course got over other courses, so to speak? Why study here? That's the sort of message. What's the USP? So I think in terms of, you get a lot of studio time depending on the nature of the course, a lot of one-to-one tuition, smaller class sizes, more personal feels, you get a bit more bang for your buck than you do at a slightly larger university, is what we'd probably try and say. So what are the key benefits to you? What are the advantages of doing this course? You'll get an industry focused program of higher education that's been helped set up and create with employers. So what you're studying is what employers want you to know, basically. A reason to believe, a credibility enhancer. So if our student work looks really good, or pucker as I've used there, it gives the person looking at our website a reason to believe that they could achieve the same. So the audience takeaway. So what's the main message we want people to take away? So a good analogy would be Just Eat. The main message that Just Eat want people to take away, their audience, is that it's so easy to order a takeaway. It'll be here in 10 minutes, and we've got all of your favourite takeaways in one app on your phone. Is what they're trying to say. Your deliverables, what's it going to be on? Is it going to be a whacking great big billboard? Is it going to be a TV ad? Is it going to be a poster? What format? Budget. How much have you got to play with? How long do you have to create it? So the next thing, what to spend the most time thinking about? What's the most important thing? It's the unique selling point. That's the driving force behind it. So it's the arrow that points the creative process in the right direction. So your creative brief needs to really showcase what the most important thing is. So this course is great. That's what you need to really spend the most time on. So essentially you need to boil everything down you've collected and get the essence of the project. So how you would sum it up in one succinct sentence, basically. So I've got a couple of examples here. So everyone's familiar, Old Spice, do the adverts. It's aftershave for people probably mid-30s and older. So forgive, this is not necessarily the most PC example in the post-Me Too era, but wives and girlfriends, so the example for Old Spice, wives and girlfriends are more likely to buy men's body wash than men, i.e. at the time of this advert, a partner was more likely to buy fragrance for their husbands than their husbands were themselves. So that's your audience insight. So if you want to smell like a man, there is only one choice. So that's the product brand insight. So that's basically saying, if you want your husband to smell like a man, there's only one product to buy, and that's this. So it's the single thought for it is the man your man could smell like. So the chiseled actor on the advert is the man that your husband could smell like. So if you want your husband to smell like him, buy this fragrance, is essentially what that's trying to say. So your creative brief should be creatively written and concise. Get rid of anything unnecessary. Doesn't have to be pages and pages long. Shorter the better. As long as you cover everything you need in the most concise way, you won't go far wrong. Get feedback. So a good creative director or marketing manager or so on will insist on seeing every brief that comes through the department. So it's their job to oversee everything, and the brief is a big part of that process. So you need to, can't emphasise enough to go through stuff, because I guarantee the more you meet up and stuff, the more something will come to light that you either overlooked or hadn't taken into consideration, or it hadn't been an issue when you did the first brief, that will become a factor in it, and you'll have to adapt accordingly. So regular meetings, bashing ideas out, heads together, coffee breaks, that sort of thing, anything that helps on that. So then you get the client's approval. So obviously if we've commissioned someone to do something, we want to see their creative brief or their interpretation of our creative brief where they've come back and put something together. So making sure that everything is going in the direction. You know, it's nothing worse than working on something and then it turns out it's totally not what they wanted. That's, you know, from a design point of view, I'd had it before where I'd worked on something. This is actually for a mate, and he was like, "Oh no, I actually wanted this." I said, "Well, why didn't you say that? The way that you've put that down there is totally different. That's been done to the letter, but what you wanted is something totally different. I could have done in 20 minutes." So to avoid stuff like that, never assume. Always get approval and make sure that you are all singing off the same song sheet. So once you've got everything agreed on, the client's happy, you're happy, it's then time to present it to your creative team if you have one. So make sure that they've got a fully grasp of it. So get off to a good start with it and make sure that everyone's singing in the right direction. So basically if you follow those steps, you should be well on your way to having a brief that gets results, not just creatively but also financially, and achieves and does what you want it to do, basically, for it. So yeah, no, I think that was that's it on there. I think that should hopefully. Do you all have do you have a better understanding of what sort of what we've you know, when you look at stuff like that, you think, oh blimey, it's a load of waffle. But if you like Julian's done on there, if you actually just segment it and look at it, it's not actually, none of it is rocket science. So you have a strategy, you then have a plan to achieve that strategy. You know, you then work on a certain part of the plan and decide how you want the plan to be achieved, right? And that's essentially it.
Yeah. Well, no, especially even though some bits might seem kind of like tedious because you've got to kind of spell it out, but it allows you to kind of spot things that in a way you don't want to overlook when you're doing marketing, because you're so public facing. You can't really afford to get it wrong.
No, you need, otherwise you know you've wasted. We only have a finite budget for stuff. We can't afford to start you know not getting stuff in the right place. Sometimes it is a trial and error thing. It might be that we do a campaign and it's not successful. There could be various reasons why. It might be that it's the wrong time of year, and that's where you need to find out everything about it. There's no point in me spending the college's money to advertise a course that we've already missed the recruitment window for it. That sort of thing. That's the sort of thing. But you need to know. That's why familiarise yourself with whatever you're asked to do as much as possible.
And do you have like any kind of examples of, like, I don't know, what was like a particularly successful kind of campaign that you did, or
yeah, there's a few examples spring to mind. So the college does a really busy, it's an adult learner open event that we do in April, and that's got a bit of everything. It's people that want to, you know, maybe come and do their electrical MVQ in the evening, people that are looking at becoming a counsellor, do the part-time diploma, people that are looking to do access courses. So that's a successful, we'd never done one at that time of year for that, and that showed that there was a huge audience for that, and it's now one of the busiest events that we do. We'd never had one at that time of year before, to the best of my knowledge. We did one, and we had about 170 potential students, so there was, obviously in terms of the actual amount of people that came to it, it was about 500 people, which was pretty good for that time of year. So we know that getting that message out there of this is who, because a lot of people are, oh, I didn't realise you did that. That's what we hear quite a lot, is people not realising, oh, I didn't realise you could do that down there. And it's the raising awareness. That's probably where we have the most success with stuff, is raising awareness and making sure that people know, you know, what we're all about, really. So yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to ask me any questions or email us, you know, you're more than welcome to. I'm happy to help as and where I can. But hopefully, you know, that was beneficial and it will be useful for, you know, for what you may end up doing. It's useful. One thing I'd stress, just to leave on, is transferable skills. Having a knowledge of something like this will be beneficial whatever you go into. I can't stress that enough. You know, being computer literate, being able to use Photoshop, Microsoft Excel, the amount of jobs and stuff that could help you with as you go through careers. Because these days, you know, it used to be people would have the same job for 40 years, but now most people change jobs every 3 or 4 years, certainly since the recession. So having as many transferable skills and an understanding of as much as that, whether it be for self-promotion or working on a freelance basis or working as part of a company, knowledge is key. Being able to understand stuff like that will stand you in good stead for whatever you end up doing, I think.
Any other questions, guys? No.
But no, I mean, if anyone wants the notes on it, you're more than welcome to have them. I'll email them.
Yeah, no, that could be quite useful. Yeah, just to have like a sheet to kind of be able to refer back to. Yeah, because I mean, we've only just started kind of looking at the marketing element of this unit. Because before
so this unit is a.
It's actually digital generation, so that's where we're doing all the stuff with the 360 cameras, social media videos, projection mapping, and whatnot. So we've done quite a few sessions now, just exploring, getting to understand those technologies.
You'll find there's a marketing module in a lot of degrees you do, even if it's nothing. If it's a business management, there's one. there's marketing modules in the vast majority of things that we do. It's important these days, you know. I mean, with whatever you do, you know, self-promotion, whether it be via social media, is massively important.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just being visible.
Yeah, being visible and getting out there for it.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. No.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, Richard. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's been again really cool, and yeah, I mean, you know, this lovely crowd will, you know, put their thinking caps on, and have a look. You know what.
As long as you found it useful, I mean,
they'll look at marketing because we'll have some interesting kind of outcomes for that.
It's handy to have an understanding of that, and then you can see how you can apply it. So there's aspects of that are applicable to a lot more than marketing. So it's useful to have an overview of that.
Yeah, definitely.
That for it. So yeah, no, cool. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Right.
Good. Oh.
Right.
Lovely. Excellent stuff. Well, thank you again.
No, you're welcome. Yeah. Cheers. Right. See you guys later on.
See you then.
Yeah. That's work.
Yeah. I hope that was a breather, not.
Yeah. No. Today's work. We've got the event this evening anyway. So.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Work. Some stuff out for that. Cool. Right.
Cool. We'll see you then.
Yeah. See you later.
That was a lot of words.
That was a lot of words.
Oh, it was so many words for you to listen to and not write down, and someone to have a nap.
I did not have a nap.
Elliot, you were asleep for an hour.
I was not.
You were.
Too
You were
sorry,
literally
okay.
asleep for an
Diamond eyes
hour,
were shut.
and you were on your phone for the rest of it.
I would just say he wasn't actually here for
Not
an hour.
asleep.
He was.
Alright,
Given the fact that it's 3 o'clock now and we started at 1.
No, we didn't start at 1.
We started.
He came in around
around
half past 1:45.
Were you actually
it was
asleep?
quarter to-
Yes, he
it
was. He
quarter-
was snoring.
No, I wasn't.
He was snoring.
I was not
I kept
snoring.
yawning, but my mind.
Yeah, I
had
was
just-
yawning, but
But
I
don't
wasn't
worry,
asleep.
Richard didn't talk for 1.5 hours. We had him here from 2 o'clock onwards.
There you go,
He
see?
did a
See,
solid
you
hour.
slept for like an hour.
I did not sleep like an hour, okay? Because I had my
Because
eyes on
that's how
that
long you
clock
were
for the
asleep, you were
whole
still
time.
asleep.
Well, you still weren't
Alright.
listening.
I will
Okay.
admit.
We'll have a break because I think everybody needs some fresh air, and I need to quickly go.
See, your
down
breaks,
as well.
the breaks are the nap time, not when someone's speaking.
I did not fall asleep.
Is everyone down in the corner?
I need a friggin' drink.
I'm going to
Alright,
just stand up.
yeah. Give yourself some caffeine. Take a screenshot of that, but I'll
Is it bad I can't feel my back?
I'll forward the email that he'll send, and I will take it from there. Everybody going up?
I'm staying up here. I've got your last ones down here. I have to go all the way down.
Alrighty.
we use this, I must say.
That'll be soon, I reckon.
Yeah. It's only getting dark enough.
The night is dark and full of terror.
Oh, that's a movie quote. What's that from? No, that's
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Shit, it is Game of Thrones, isn't it? Yeah. Not movie, television. Well, each episode of Game of Thrones is like a movie, so.
It is. Especially the last season.
Oh, yeah. I did not snore and I did not fall asleep. What are you doing with your head?
I was taking some
Liberties.
brain treatment.
There was a joke there, but I'm too tired to do it.
Oh, Michael Van Gogh.
Who's Michael Van Gogh? I still can't believe Red Star Belgrade's manager goes, Spurs will not suffer racial abuse tonight. Couldn't possibly know. There is a way we could not prevent it.
Oh. Not play.
Let the racists win. Don't play
Let
our
the
black players.
racists win.
Yeah, if we don't play any black players.
Okay. Do you hear yourself?
If we don't play any black players, then
But isn't that racist in itself?
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they want.
Then why are you giving it to them? It's not the kind of thing that you should let win. It's
So
not like the
you think-
disabled kid at the sports
Let
day.
the racists win. That's
So,
the
do you
point.
think we should let players play and then just have thousands of fans
No,
calling them
no, they should be
calling them the N-word, making monkey chants for 90 minutes?
Okay. Where is Spurs playing right now?
Belgrade. Not now, tonight.
Belgrade. Where's Belgrade?
Somewhere foreign.
Somewhere foreign.
Belgrade.
It's
Oh,
basically
it's
Serbia. It's Serbia.
Yes, Serbia. Is this? Because they've already done this before, haven't they?
No, that's
very-
Bulgaria.
Yeah,
They're a very
Bulgaria.
racist
Okay.
team.
Serbia.
The fans anyway.
Okay.
To the point where they were banned from coming to the game in Tottenham.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I don't know what you want me to say because we can't let the racists win. That's the whole point.
True.
Okay. So fuck them, and then just.
I'd rather just see if there was a racist incident, all the players just like drop kick the fans.
I don't think
I bet
that'd
the
be...
fans might just outnumber the players.
Yeah,
just
probably.
Small ball by a small margin. Well, you know what will happen if they start being racist, the match will get called off.
Yeah, but no one.
And then
obviously
and then the opposite, and then our team will win anyway because it'll be like, okay, this country's being racist.
Well, it
you
won't.
lose.
It'll get played again behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Does that mean not even TV will cover it?
Yeah, no, TV,
TV
won't.
will, but they won't
Will they?
have any fans in.
Oh right, that's gonna be closed stadium. You mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I worded that wrong.
Mm.
I don't obviously
Well,
want the
it's-
racists to win.
Let the racists win.
I don't actually
No
want
one
the racists to
ever
win.
has said that.
I don't actually want the racists to win.
Even
I
the
want England to win.
racists have never gone, oh, we must let ourselves win.
They'll let us win.
You don't let the racists win, you shoot them dead.
Yeah.
It's not basically racism in itself, though.
What, shooting the racists?
Shoot the
No.
Serbians.
Julian says it's going to be back soon and you need to be ready to present.
Shoot the
Oh,
Serbians.
right, the thing, sorry, I feel like...
Imogen Paul's not playing.
Eddie, you've been drawing a blank for the last hour.
Oh, you don't fall asleep?
No, he hasn't been drawing a blank, he's been happy dreaming.
I have not
No,
been
because
asleep.
Caleb's eyes was shut and sleeping.
What's his
Yeah,
name?
yeah, fucking hell.
I'll tell them both off. I
What's
don't
this
care.
about Elliot?
Go on, then when Caleb comes back, tell him off.
Can you find blanks over there?
No, not that you... No. Okay, how would Imogen know that, for starters?
Maybe you told me. I don't know.
Psychic.
I can honestly believe that you were psychic. Primarily because you have that look.
What look?
The I see dead people look.
You can't judge people by how they look, Elliot.
Psychics don't see dead
Elliot, you be good on time team because you're good at digging holes, aren't you?
Yeah.
If people judge me on how I look, I'll be in prison.
Sean, I'm really confused.
Why?
Because look at
You
me.
understand these things.
Look at me.
Oh, I've got it. Fine.
What is your first thought when you look at me?
Okay,
Pretend you
that is
don't
the one
know
that
me.
goes back.
Okay.
Pretend you don't know me.
Okay.
What is your first thought when you look at me?
Nonce.
Nonce. Yeah.
I was going to say, please say pedo, please say pedo.
I was joking, by the way.
I think it's normal random person.
What? And then when you see me, you think she definitely sees dead people.
No, not your. Not. I don't mean your face looks like you see dead people. I mean you have looks like when you give people looks and stuff. You have a kind of look like.
You see the
Sort of thing
future
like that.
dead.
Well, like she's
Yeah.
imagining us dead.
Can you
That is
blame
where-
her?
Yeah. I'd honestly be
Thank
surprised
you,
if
Mama.
she didn't do that.
I love how you just turned to me to tongue pop.
I can't do it at the moment. I don't know.
Do you have conversations with customers at work?
Yeah, more,
So
they're
it's
just more
just-
along the lines of hello, morning, lovely weather, isn't it, or terrible weather, stuff like that.
How bad?
Right.
There are a couple of customers that I know fairly well. Like there's this one girl called Anne. She always has like a handful of scratch cards, and she will win somewhere between £50 and £200 on scratch cards.
Right.
Yeah.
My music's been playing this whole
And
time.
I like conversations with her. She's really nice, dude.
I'll go back to you.
Why do you ask?
Unfortunately, I have to go out to interviews as well because they have me so.
It's just because sometimes the conversations, you like, I don't know. It feels like you're trying to start something, and I just wonder if you do that at work as well.
No, I don't try and stop. Well, at least I try not to. Try
This
not
song is the biggest fucking thing.
to. You know what I mean?
Hang on, I'm
Shall we do
gonna-
some trust falls?
No.
Why not?
I just think it would
Because
be
you're going to
a
get a
bad
shock
idea.
if we do.
Don't touch me.
Read
You're
this
gonna
and
think,
tell me
huh?
that
You
this
still owe
isn't
me a haircut.
Amy
No, I don't.
personified
You
and
haven't paid
me
me a
anxiety personified. Just like
Can I
have a
come
scroll
lay in your
through
bed?
this.
No.
Can I, for my documentary, come round and lay in people's beds?
What is your documentary title?
Laying in people's beds.
Yeah,
Sleeping
just
in
like
Bed by
first
Thomas
week.
Anderson.
Yeah, hang on, wait till the end. Hang on, it's like
Having a wank in all my friends' beds.
One of the shops I want to go in is open till 5:30, so I'm going to make it anyway.
somewhere around there.
Where do you want to go?
This is a heinous title just sit at home and
Get
they're
some
watching
earphones.
cable porn
Yeah,
on the
what,
train.
what shop?
I was myself
One of the,
instead.
well, whatever phone shop.
I just Michael, who's a loner, who must be such, so he must be a stoner rides in a PT cruise.
Elliot, listen to the song Swiggity Swag, you'll find it funny.
Literally the biggest
No,
fucking
it is a
move
funny
for
song.
anyone who
I'm
is
not gonna
at
listen
to
all
South Park
socially
parody.
anxious.
Yeah, it's a mood.
Have you heard it?
Did Ryan just throw a rape alarm in that office?
What? I'm saying
What?
rape alarm.
Yeah. By the way, Caleb, you're doing your presentation as soon as Julian gets back. You and Elliot just worked out which one of you's
And I
gonna
saw
go first
you
with
shutting your eyes during the
presentation.
speech.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, I heard
No,
you
I
were
shut my
sleeping
eyes,
too,
yeah.
mate.
Yeah, you were sleeping too, Caleb.
I wasn't sleeping.
To be fair, he was a bit boring.
No more naps, children.
He
I was
a
trying
bit
to
boring.
not sleep.
Yes, I was struggling to not sleep. I was
Oh,
ahead of
I almost said, I bet
Yeah,
you'll fight the
thank you.
parties.
His head was on the table, his eyes were closed, and he was quietly snoring.
I was not snoring. My
Elliot,
head was not on the
It was
table.
definitely on the table. I saw that much.
Okay, I did this once.
Elliot, it's
That was it.
That's like
people have
15
no,
minutes.
people have
A
witnessed.
solid 10,
It was
15.
not 10, 15
People have
minutes.
witnessed the
minutes.
incident.
What incident?
You falling asleep.
I
Do you
think I
have
thought-
a wank in class?
Well, that's a little bit. You've got a bit far there,
See
Tom.
who goes first? What person to see who goes first? The first what? In the presentations.
Okay, here's a better way. Who's first in the alphabet?
Caleb.
Okay.
You are.
No.
Your whole
A,
would
B,
be.
C. Oh, I thought we were going first name.
No, you always go last name.
Why?
Because that's
That's how
everything
registers
is
are
done.
done.
Because that's how the
Register.
Romans invented it, okay?
The Romans were
Okay.
assholes. They
First
invaded
of all,
everywhere.
it's not the
So
Roman
did the
alphabet.
British.
But it's
I'm not saying
okay.
we're great.
No, the British
Well, it's not
invasion
the
was
Roman
alright.
alphabet.
Oh, yeah, was it?
Yeah. More acceptable forms of invasion.
Oh yeah.
If anything, we should be pissed off at Mongolia then, because they conquered more than we did.
They did actually, to be fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like,
Or they were responsible for more deaths.
Yeah. Genghis Khan literally had a mountain of heads once.
Yes. And he
Same.
probably
We
fucked
did
it.
not have we did not literally pick up all the heads of our enemies.
No,
and make a
I mean
mountain.
same as in I have a mountain of heads in my bedroom.
Aren't even my heads. Are they just all like plastic wax ones from like your own
they're
Madame
heads of people
Tussauds?
that I dislike.
Who did you dislike?
Us right now, I think.
I thought they were just you just leaving them in there until your storage comes free for your Madame Tussauds.
That's not to smell it. You know.
Oh, hell. Won't the pets like eat out of them?
A few of them are missing eyeballs.
You can you fucking stop?
Get away.
Is KSI be Logan Paul this weekend?
Yes.
Fuck knows, fuck cares.
I want one of them. I
Unless
don't
he
care
gets
who
beaten
gets.
the shit out of them.
I hope one of them gets beaten the shit out, so the other one.
Yeah,
so
Logan
they-
Paul.
Logan Paul's he's a fucking wanker.
He's
But
actually
KSI's
a
turning-
massive cunt.
KSI's a dickhead, but he's not an absolute
Okay, let's put it this way.
penis.
Logan
has
and Jake
one.
Paul,
True.
Jake
Probably.
Paul, i.e. Logan Paul's brother, went into a suicide forest and found a dead body.
Let
Logan
me and
Paul
Tom take on the
has
both
a
of them.
similar
I thought
mentality.
it was
No,
Logan
you're getting it the wrong way round.
I don't
Yeah.
care which prat's which, they're both pricks.
Jack
Well-
and Tom versus Logan and Jake.
We die.
Yeah, you would literally
You
both
will be
be
fucked.
dead.
No, but we have more people wanting us
Unless
to
you
win.
train. Unless you do some training.
But we
Yeah,
would
we
get
do
helped
training,
out.
we do
But we would
training.
have the support of the public on our side.
Tom, the support of the public doesn't mean that you're not going to get pummeled within an inch.
I'll tell you what,
No,
we'll beat them
but
in their
they-
own backyard. We'll take it to the USA.
Where
We'll
there are
fuck
gun
them in their own
licenses.
backyard.
What, as in you're actually going to go and rape them in their own back garden?
So what?
Who
I
knows?
heard of victims
Who
with
knows?
I heard them getting beaten up by Paul Logan and KSI.
Paul
Why are they
Logan.
suddenly rape?
He goes, we'll go and fuck them in their own backyard. So I was just asking for clarification.
Who in KSI?
No,
Elliot?
we'll knock them out, we'll drag their bodies
Elliot, who-
outside, and then we'll leave the
Paul
raping to other
Logan.
people.
Paul Logan.
What about an assisted rape?
Is it Paul Logan?
No, it's Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
No, it's still bad. Just stop.
We'll box them in a big arena, we'll fight them, we'll win.
And then you'll rape them.
We'll knock them out, we'll drag them into a garden, we'll leave them, and we'll fly back to the UK.
You can, yeah, that's fine as long as you
We'll
don't
put
rape.
brooms up.
We won't
their
rape
butt.
them, no.
We'll put brooms
We
up
can't
their
promise
That is
other
still
people.
rape.
No,
Tom.
that's still
Or at least sexual assault.
We'll pull it. We'll cack them. How about that?
That is sexual assault.
I mean that, yeah, that's not great, but I mean I can just about allow.
Cacking.
No.
But cacking is what used to happen in schools a lot.
Yes, and now it doesn't. Much
Yeah.
like being
Oh,
tamed.
it
Or
still-
teaching
it still
children.
happens
It
in school.
happens in
Being
PE.
Yeah.
You go around
Was
the
it
training
last
room
time?
cacking it.
Was it
Yeah.
a tour last time?
Boys
Yeah,
go
so
round.
Jim got double capped.
And there was always one person who you cack. Hello.
Hello.
I'm really sorry to disturb. We're students from the Public Services course and we're selling poppies to raise money for the British Legion. Is anybody willing to buy one?
I've already got mine.
I
haven't
haven't
got
got
any
money.
I'm not got any
That's
money,
fine.
sorry.
Do you guys want some change?
I have a
No,
pound coin.
I'm gonna get a metal.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I can offer you.
I do already have like 3 poppies at home.
Alright, that's
Sorry.
fine. Thank
Sorry.
you very much.
No, bye. I just.
Good.
But yeah, no, there was always
I
one.
don't partake in poppy wedding
Why?
because I would rather wear a white poppy than a red one because I think it's important to recognise that not only soldiers, like yes, they did fight for people in wars, but also there are other tragedies of wars other than soldiers. I just think it should be a more recognised.
Well, I always thought the red poppy was always like representative of the blood that got shed.
Red poppies are representative of combatants in war. White poppies are combatants and civilians of all wars. A purple poppy is service animals in wars. There's a few other types of poppies as well. I think there might be a red and white one. I might be making that one up. But yeah,
Is Caden laughing?
he's watching the video.
I don't have ever heard him laugh.
He's watching.
Oh,
Yeah, but no, cacking at school was very. There's
Jed
a-
McGuinness got double cacked on the PGL trip. I wasn't there, but everyone saw his knob.
Who's Jed McGuinness?
Just a boy in my ear.
He sounds about
Is that
84.
someone playing any pants?
Pantsing.
Okay.
Well,
Why
A
have you been
cack.
capped in school?
cacking is one layer, double cacking is both.
Was everyone just gay in school?
No, it was the.
Like, just because you cack someone doesn't mean you're gay. You just low-key sexually harassed someone.
You could do anything to them, and your first thing to do is pull their pants down.
Yes.
But in that case,
Public
in my
humiliation.
Yeah, but keep in mind, in the girls' locker rooms, it was always bra strap hanging.
Oh,
Or people
That
trying to
sounds
fucking
fun,
undo
mate.
it.
that and parachuting. Parachuting in schools was one of the worst things.
what was that?
I can
When
only
someone
guess
wears a
what that is.
backpack, you grab the like top strap and just go like that, and, like that. And peanutting. Peanutting was bad.
Mr. Baidu declared the
You get
national.
the long,
He's not
the
Abigail
shorter bit
anymore.
of the tie, the
He's a
inside
Stanley.
skinny bit, and you go like that and pull it
But-
out. It's like,
Oh, I
it's
know,
tighten up the
You
top
wouldn't
of
have got the
the-
praise
I've
of the,
done
of
that,
the
I've done
Bangkok
that.
praise.
What's the capital of Thailand?
And then you punch someone in the balls when they say Bangkok.
Bangkok, bam.
No, it was actually a slap.
But like, it's really not a good
I
idea.
think it happened to me twice, and then the rest of the times I didn't fall for it.
People have literally like had to have a ball removed because of that. Like,
So that's sometimes.
I
you
would
have to-
fucking
sometimes it be
slash
like.
someone's throat if they punch me.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it be
so
like.
how'd you lose your ball?
Well, what's the
If I lost
capital
the
of
ball, I fucking
Taiwan?
slash their throats.
Taiwan.
Thailand.
Thailand, whatever.
I swear Elliot hears something and he just completely changes it.
He just starts
It's like a game. Speaking to Elliot is just like a game of Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to be repeated back.
That's not untrue.
I can't even argue with this.
I have no.
The Chinese whispers, Tom went to shop, Elliot, Kim Jong-un, what?
Essentially, yes.
Fat.
Not that bad.
Probably,
Paul
yeah.
knows
Has
it.
everyone else heard the news that Keanu Reeves is in a very happy relationship for the first time in 20 years?
Yes.
You just hear all the women around the world who had a thing going for him going, oh.
No, it's
It's, I mean, yes, my man. Like, yes, my man. I mean, yes,
It's
you
yes,
are.
bitch.
Hello, yes, you are. Like, a very nice man to look at.
I'm
But
gonna say-
also, yes.
What about Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Don't even say that name.
Right,
I
what's
say,
wrong
I
with
But
didn't
also,
even-
he's just got married.
I
Very cute and very
And
happy.
they've just
to
had a
him,
little
but-
girl, haven't they?
I think so. And actually, no, I think they
Would
had
you
their
marry
kid before
Jeffrey
they married.
Dean Morgan?
I'll get married.
No.
Why?
We already know you're married, Jack, to Tom.
A, he's
If I
married.
married Tom, I would jump
B,
off a
I'm
fucking
a
bridge.
small child, and that's weird.
The
You're a
Balkan
small
Bridge.
child.
Who's a small child?
You make yourself sound about 4 or 5.
Only like 20 something.
She can get away with it.
I'm nearly 21, but I am still a small child.
It's still legal though.
Yeah,
could date him
that's
if you
not the
wanted.
point. The point I'm making is that I'm a small little child and should be left alone. And also, he's like 52, 53. So, I mean,
He's that sexist.
it's more than that sexy. Oh, fucking God, for real.
If Joseph Kemp looked like Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
No!
My auntie's dating a bloke who's about 20 years
You know
older.
it's Supernatural?
Negan?
Yeah.
Their dad.
No, but he doesn't look attractive in Supernatural. It wasn't until
Does anyone
like
does anyone want a train ticket?
Yeah,
no
sure.
thanks. It wasn't
It's out of
like
date, you bastard.
it literally wasn't until like Negan that I found him really attractive.
Imogen was just like. Imogen was just
I was like,
this-
oh yeah, just pummel my head with that
If
fucking
you can
great.
masturbate, don't kill it.
It's like when I thought the girl from the end of the
Fucking
fucking world was
come on
quite
then, Elliot.
attractive.
And then you had to
Yeah.
check how old
Yeah,
she
I
was.
thought it was weird, and then I
I-
googled
I-
it, and she's
I-
27.
I was like, oh my god, she's
Like,
really
like-
attractive, and I was like, wait, am I creeping on like a 17-year-old?
Yeah,
And then
I
was
thought
like,
she was quite fit, and then like,
that's fine. She's like,
googled it, she's 27.
Who is she?
The girl from
I
the
can't
end of the
remember
fucking
her
world.
name.
Oh,
Maybe Hannah something.
Jessie Bowden.
Oh, where did Hannah come from?
I don't know. Yeah, I sent her a video on Instagram, Jessie
Oh,
Bowden.
you fucking know.
My sister said Chris Lilly one.
I sent.
Who's Chris Lilly?
Why can't I skip this?
Do you want to see the video that I've sent
It
Jessie
was a
Bowden?
parallel.
Shall I send her a DM as well? God, it's so hot in here.
Oh, damn. Imogen want to retire, man.
Alrighty. What do I have? Couple of people helping me.
Yes, I will help you. I have.
Am I gonna need to?
Do we need to shift it?
Oh, Tom, stop bloody putting your DNA on me.
I mean, I guess DNA is better than
Anything else?
yeah.
Thank you.
Wait, Harry Willie or whatever.
Literally
My dad does
anything
that.
Tom does to him will contain his DNA.
So talking to him.
Well, no, not that. I mean,
All I
I
do.
mean, I
breathe
guess maybe
on
if
me?
you spit on him.
Alright, then
Alright,
sneeze.
let's have a
Or
look.
cough.
Shall I try it?
Yeah.
Just that by itself might not be high enough.
Well, if we put the crate on top of the table and then put that on top of the crate,
Yeah, but the crate's on wheels.
is it?
Unless you can lock the wheels.
Is that the wheels?
You can lock the wheels, but even
How
then
about
the
I
wheels
stand on
wouldn't.
the table with it on my head?
Well, no, because if you do it like,
You watching GTA?
I'm happy to give it a try.
okay, well,
Well,
let's
it's like
say, if we put this on there, let me move my laptop out of the way.
What are you projecting onto?
We're going to on the wall, but not right now. I just wanted to get the
Can we just
table
put a
sorted.
table something? Just so everyone can just looks up and sees it and go,
Oh, cool, this is oh, ow, fingers.
keep spending most of our life living in
Okay.
Amish paradise.
So this got handles as well.
Yeah.
Left from the beat.
Hang on.
Done.
We'll just stream one of the new
Done.
Tuesday threads on Milk's Mouth.
There we go.
I bet you Elliot would participate in
So
the
this one isn't lockable, so maybe just
It
the
was-
front two.
Yeah, I think just the front two.
Most people in that group aren't even nude. It's just people basically enclosed, just not too many.
Alrighty, good. Yeah, that
Yeah.
seems to work. Alright.
I want to get in that group lamp like
There's
this.
a hand.
Just join it.
So not
I
like
wouldn't lift it just from that here.
Just join it.
Got it?
We're there. Fabulous.
Possibilities we can see.
Okay.
That sounds like inducing.
It's not actually aiming at the wall.
No, it's fine. Well, it'll need to be at an angle anyway, and then
Okay.
we'll draw accordingly. Alrighty, good.
Yeah,
Wait. We're screened onto that wall.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Do we have permission to do that?
Do we need?
Well, it depends what
We
It
don't.
depends what we're
Can we
doing.
put up socialist propaganda?
No, we cannot put out socialist propaganda.
I like it.
Just Stalin's face.
And then that USSR.
and then it morphs.
In fairness, I don't actually think anyone would know what Stalin did.
Next week's blog post. Next
Yeah.
week's blog post. How I
Then it's
accidentally
turned into
showed Tom's
SpongeBob.
news to the whole of Colchester Institute.
We'd probably get more
What?
angles if we put Donald
What'd you
Trump's
say?
face on there.
Put a blog
Okay.
post up. How I accidentally showed Tom's news to the whole of Colchester Institute.
Right here, we are not going to start projecting just yet. The reason for that is it's just too bright outside, so I think we'll just play. Yes.
Quick thing.
Can I go
Wouldn't it be
to-
better to have the group tutorial thing now?
Exactly.
I was gonna say that.
Well, but before the group tutorial, we're going to listen to some presentations.
Yeah, hang on, I've got to find my USB stick together with this.
I nearly put it
Pardon
on
me?
my thumb.
Good.
Oh,
Oh,
about 10 times though.
Why are you counting?
I said about 10 times.
You guys better be ready for a grilling because I'm going to be asking. I'm going to make sure that I ask. mega
Imogen's gonna go
questions.
in.
I don't like it, Elliot.
Why?
I've not seen it. I'm a bit-
Because I'm in
Tom, you
mood.
just sounded like a kid that's never eaten something before and just says, I don't like it.
If
Which
it
is
gets
still
too
what I
much
do to this
Elliot,
day, but
tap out and say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I just might go.
The truth is,
Now-
do
Yeah,
what
so many
Mark does
questions,
in the
I'm
Peep
sorry,
Show,
I'm sorry.
escape out of a window, just halfway. Could just run away.
What? Tap out, submit to the class.
Can I put you in an ankle lock, Elliot?
alrighty.
I'm now just imagining.
Elliot's
sort of
going
sitting
first and
around
sees
people
first in the
like-
register.
Yeah, he wouldn't even do it right, he'd just be holding his ankle.
I'd like to plead the fifth.
Alrighty.
Do you know
Question
Ellen,
nine.
are you
Yeah, I'm just turning off my
going to
laptop.
be the first one?
I don't think
Elliot,
Mendez.
request denied.
Request for what?
Request.
Why
You
you
want to
keep
plead the
doing that?
fifth? Yeah, your request is denied.
You cannot
No,
deny
read
me
my
to plead the
five.
fifth.
What is this?
We could do cam
Fifth
session.
Amendment. It don't work here anyway. That's an American thing.
Okay.
Can I just plug this in, yeah?
Please do.
Huh?
Elliot, do you want me to play the Russian?
No, I do not want you to
Once
play the
get
Russian
started?
anthem. Please bear in mind that I did leave my charger here overnight, so this is not as detailed in as I would have liked it to be because I ran out of power.
Oh, you did actually
What
get old.
you mean you didn't do it before yesterday, Elliot?
No, I did
bash
do
it
it.
out
I did it
this
last
morning.
night.
That's not the only thing you have
It's
about.
so when.
Let's ask the awkward questions after the
Oh, so that's a
presentation.
question I can ask.
Thank you for not asking me that because you know how hard I worked in like an hour.
Did you bang it out this morning?
No, I did not bang it out this morning.
Alright,
did
if
you bang?
you just hit the present
Why are you
button.
suddenly stealing my joke?
F5, yeah.
Tough crowd.
He's doing no
We
nut.
need to steal the joke. Alright guys, let's pipe it in.
He's doing no nut.
Okay.
That's...
I hate you all so much, just saying.
Is that why you've got a shirt on?
Alright. Shh.
That's what Elliot just wears.
What's wrong with what I wear?
Nothing!
That was really nice.
Oi! Not important right now!
Just crack on.
Okay.
Okay. That. Okay, I've got some possible.
Okay, guys. Come on.
I've got some possible. This is just some ideas for like the main questions that I was trying to pose. I did have a couple more ideas, but I forgot to write them down. I am leaning towards more the middle one here, but I do think that still needs some.
Spell it out, because sometimes when you read it out, it can.
Okay. What are 360-degree videos and how are they changing the media industry? I do think that needs more reworking in, because I'd want to mention VR in there somehow, but that is generally what I'm more leaning towards there. Some ideas for primary research. I think talking to people who actually know about the technology behind VR is going to be primary for this, because they actually know all the ins and outs and how it works and everything. I also want to talk to someone, a professional in the media industry, who's worked with 360-degree films, who's actually produced some and knows what they're really mainly about. Because there's this film called, it was this film, I can't remember what it was called, but it was about this blind man and two people try and rob his house, and as a trailer, there's this whole thing that they can't see him because they're in a dark room and they can't see him. There's this 360 trailer where it plays on that sort of horror thing where you are the person in the house and you're trying to hide from this person who, despite not being able to see, can use his other senses to find you and he's trying to kill you. It plays on that horror element. And I want to talk to someone who's not done that specifically, but done something similar to that to see how they've worked that and how they've played that off.
Cool.
And then I've got some links to some secondary research. This one is actually a really interesting couple of paragraphs about virtual reality and its impact on society so far. And I think it was the fourth one down. Yeah, this one has some interesting talks about 360 videos, especially some of the. It's got some links to some on YouTube as well, and that goes into more detail about editing, that sort of thing. And there's even some stuff about completely computer generating 3D environments, which is actually there's a link in there to an It trailer, which is a 360 video that's completely computer generated for that It film, and it's got the main street film. Well, spoilers. Main street film where Pennywise meets the kid and he's in the sewer grate, and then it's a little exploration of the sewer tunnels, and it plays off that horror element where you can just look round, and in a way it's a little better than filming 360 as it is, because you can computer generate it, you can design all aspects of what the viewer is seeing.
That being the film that we.
Yeah, the one that we done.
Yeah. And this is just some ideas of how I wanted to film my 10-minute presentation about the. I want it to be, because I'm basing this on 360 videos. I want it to be a 360 video, but there will be scenes where it's just a screen, but you'll still be in that 360 environment. Like when they're showing you the logo, you can turn around and you see 4 of it, like 4 points of a compass. And then I will get to talking about 360 videos, and it will cut from that into an example of a 360 video, and I'll have an environment where it will be for them to free to explore as an example for them to do that, and then that will be primarily voiceover from there. And that's it.
Okay. Good. Well.
So you're filming the whole question video in 360?
No, it will be filmed normally, but I'll edit it in a 360 format. But there will be at least half of the film will be in that 360 style, so that the viewer can explore it. And if they have a VR headset or something like
What will
that,
they be exploring?
they'll be exploring what it's like to be to view a 360 video. That's the point. It'll be so they can experience if they haven't done so already. It's like an example piece.
Okay.
I think it sounds good.
Okay, I have.
Yeah, I've seen you scribbling down. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, you're talking a lot about what you're gonna do. Is that actually like how you're gonna present your research?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's how I'm
Okay,
going
no,
to
that's
present
fine.
my research.
That's fine. I
yeah.
just wanted to clear that up because I was like a bit.
No, sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
So, my first question is, what actually is your research question? Like from what you were saying with the, like, what is VR and how has it changed the film industry?
Yeah.
From what you've sort of presented, you didn't really present much of that to me, and it doesn't really seem like you're posing anything that doesn't already exist.
Right, no, well, my question is, sorry, to be a bit less specific, because obviously the main question has to be a bit more defined, but if I can just say it bluntly, I want to explore the impact VR has, bringing forth 360 videos, how it's impact the media industry, and if there's because right now it's not really a gimmick, but it's not really a proper, let's have this as a film or a television series or something. But I want to see if there's a way to bridge that gap, if there's an actual future in that.
Okay, so question number, well, not necessarily question, but more observation. With your research, it might be beneficial for you to look into sort of like studies and reports, like market reports and stuff, on the film industry and the penetration, as it were, of VR content and how it has, because in your question you say that there has been a shift. Try and prove that shift.
Okay.
Also, are you doing VR or are you doing 360? Because you keep saying VR and then saying 360. Like, are you making, obviously you're making 360 content, but is it is it going to be 3D content that's specifically designed to be viewed through VR headsets rather than 360 content that you can view just?
Well, obviously you can view 360 content on just a plain screen.
Obviously, but when you're saying VR, it gives me the impression that you're going to be creating lots of sort of simulated environments.
Well, yeah, no, that's kind of what I'm trying to pose. Is 360 videos and VR technology, is there going to be a one day where we can just put on a headset and experience a whole film like that? That's sorry if I didn't really.
I was going to say, I think maybe your question might need a little bit of developing, but
like I said, these are just rough ideas for questions. I'm not really good at stating my thoughts out loud, so do bear with me.
Any other kind of comments? I mean, there's a couple of elements maybe that you could expand on. So yeah, obviously the clarity of the research question needs to be better, and I think for you it will partially be also about which direction are you going to be focusing on your research, because I see two different strands. So one is about bridging the gap between VR and VR headset usage and so on. And that becoming a more mainstream kind of thing for the consumption of dramatic productions.
Yeah.
But that is more of a, let's say, quantitative exercise. It's about looking at trends, looking at obviously some technology and how the convergence kind of happens. What is the current use of that technology, and how might it be in the future? And then there's also the technological aspect, which seems to be part of what you want to focus on as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you need to I think you need to give it some kind of clearer direction as to whether you're kind of more interested in the numbers and the uptake of the technology, or in the actual technology to kind of make it happen, and Yeah, I mean, obviously you will need to touch into the technology briefly
Yeah.
through numbers, but you can't fully explore both of them.
Okay, yeah.
That will be kind of too much.
Well, I am a bit more interested in the technology, so I would probably
Yeah,
concentrate
okay.
more on that. Yeah.
Okay. Important thing with that is, and I think for all of your researchers, because quite rightly, we don't need to reinvent the wheel on these particular research topics, but one section that is important is at the end, or wherever you place it, is what is it going to be like in the future? Okay, so a glimpse in the future. Obviously, it's quite straightforward when you've got something more analytical, where you're looking at data and trends and so on, and there's the direction of travel, and you can make your own predictions, which is something that I think Tom has kind of focused on more, the kind of data and how it kind of moves forwards in terms of trends. And if you're focusing on technology and so on, kind of also have as an aspect, not as the main part of your research, but as an aspect of your research, it's like, okay, what could be future developments be? Okay, and there are, like Imogen was saying, there are research bits, there are, whole labs that are researching different uses, different ways of interacting, different ways of working with media, like that. So is VR going to become something that's more AR plus kind of thing? So where it's augmented reality, so where you're not completely shut off from the outside, but actually, so you can have a kind of fully immersive mode, and then it kind of goes into mixed reality back or something like. What are the possible developments for these kind of technologies? Potential uptake. Sorry?
You were just what you were saying was just making me think of a game that I used to play all the time as a kid.
What's it called?
iToy. It was the one from the PlayStation
Oh,
that
I
had the
remember
camera,
iToy.
and it basically put you on the screen and you had to do all the dumb things.
Yeah.
Like,
So, but okay. So that's some action. Last criticism: I did not see a single printed source.
I wrote book ?
Yeah. Books, journals, reports, studies, anything.
Well,
like
one
that.
of the links actually.
Okay. One of the links is a Google book.
Well, yeah.
Does that count as a print? Again?
This one here is a
yes.
link. Is a link to Amazon.
Okay.
But I just couldn't find a Google thing of it, so I just got.
In
the Amazon
future,
book.
for your pictures, Elliot, if you have links, maybe a little brief description of what the links are.
Well, I was going to do that, but like I say, the laptop ran
Yeah.
out of power, and I left my power charger.
No, that's all right. At least you've provided us with a good overview of all of these aspects.
Right, where's the mouse?
Alrighty, let's power through. Mr. MP.
Having a slight issue because it appears half the slides turn invisible.
Good.
Good. As you do.
Just save it onto a memory stick, and we'll see how we work.
Do you remember in school
from there? Alright, cheers for that.
Once fell off his chair, he's not breathing.
Crippling anxiety does not help.
No,
So what was that thing you watched in 360
Yeah, what's that
VR?
blind man horror
Yeah.
film thing?
I know it's a horror film.
I can't remember what it's called for the life of me, but I thought, as I was doing this, I thought, oh no, that's really good because that really scared the shit out of
I'd
me.
like to apologise because I wasn't laughing at what you were saying, I was laughing at the idea of the film.
Yeah, no, you just had to giggle.
I just thought.
You look like you're trying to hold his hand in a heart
I
attack.
couldn't understand what the horror aspect of it was. Was it the blind man or the other thing?
Let me see if I can get it up before.
I know this
basically
it's like the whole process of like
anxiety
breaking into a
related
blind guy's
thing.
house.
I
Yeah,
don't usually
and it turns out he's a
have
serial
that
killer.
much.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
other one
But
I
how
don't.
can you be a blind serial killer?
Because
But
he's like
Well, it's like Daredevil. Like Daredevil.
somewhere
the whole thing is
in
there
my
in the dark,
chest
they can't
and-
see shit, but he doesn't need to see.
It's his lair, as it were.
The file is corrupted.
Oh.
Because that's what's happening there. But I think I have an older version on here. It just doesn't have the last 2 or 3 slides. Okay, so it's fine. There's Luke killing themselves, I think, over there, so it's fine. It just won't house certain things. Hopefully. And it's not just all gone to shit. Why is there no...
Don't breathe. That was it. Don't breathe.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
Where's
Well,
File
that's the
Explorer?
film, is it?
No, the film isn't, but there was a.
There's File Explorer.
Yeah, there's
If you right click on the
Put your hands up
right
in
click on the
air.
start thing,
Why are you being
File Explorer.
a Russian word for fuckboy?
I am not.
Okay, that'll do.
Most of it. Alright. If you hit the F5, it's going to go over to the other screen.
Oh, I didn't
There we go.
do that.
All right.
So can I just put the thing now? Should be work, alright.
All right, let's focus everyone and.
It's a title. It's a question. Who knows? Whatever. Never know. It's pretty self-explanatory, gotta be honest.
Is this your research question? The little one
Probably.
underneath. Okay.
Basically, yeah, that's probably the question. I might slightly alter it to make sense better.
It's good as a title. What I would say is add a subtitle to it. So
Yeah.
just giving us a glimpse of which aspect you're going to.
Yeah.
You know, is it semiotic or is it technology based or what angle you're looking at it?
I'm not sure. I think there might be a tiny bit of both, though.
Okay.
'Cause I feel like it's going to be a complicated extra Twitter on one
I'm
side.
assuming
So
you're
alright.
doing interactive video
You
then.
can say
interactive.
a semiotic and technological approach.
Does this work? Hey, it does. Look at that. I have pictures as well. Right, it's just basically just like me talking about origins of it, explaining some early ones, and then premises how it changed over time. Specifically, it started off Film Expo with Kinomat, which had like a whole thing where literally someone would talk and they would put the same thing. So it's like a basis, and then I moved on. Have a nice talk about full motion video footage. That's basically like the 1890s ones primarily. For example, Dragon's Lair, Don Bluth, ex-Disney employee. Whole different tangent there I could go into. Yes, there's like, that's sort of the popularized time frame for it, I guess you could say. Since it was like a whole animation film and like that sort of. But yeah, I just put those there because they look nice. Then we got a resurgence in 2000s, so that's a whole different sort of interpretation of it, using more sort of video games rather than film, heavily thanks to Walking Dead, because that was the big first one that brought it back. Audiences, again, I'm just talking about it because this is what I've got so far, and it gives a sort of blanket overview of what I can look into later. You know, the original ones, it was like cinemas were retrofitted, which I read into it. I didn't want to put an entire thing into this where it explains why that failed. There's a whole thing about putting joysticks that were never used because there wasn't enough content for it particularly. And then it's sort of I'm going to talk about recent iterations and how they're more focused on primarily small groups or singular people, or in this modern age possibly some person watching it and then having a group vicariously interact with it through like possibly live media process like streaming, but I'm not going to go deep into that. I'm going to put as a footnote possibly. It's just there as a note for why some of these are successful, I guess. So there's the whole point of that now, very much heavily, like especially like the ones like Late Shift. Now it doesn't necessarily suit mass cinema audiences, although there is evidence of them doing it with mobile phones. But again, it doesn't necessarily match it because not everyone will get what they want to plan on. So things like Bandersnatch, especially, like it's very much you're going to sit and watch Netflix with maybe your friends or family, but you're probably going to do it on your own because that's the sort of content it is. So the audience is going to be varied, I guess. It's sort of more modern as like younger generations, I guess now, especially with the resurgence in the recent years. I can't hit the button anymore because I'm dumb. Just like talking about technology mix, it's like retrofitted cinemas being the ones, I can't remember exactly the name, I had it here now I think. Yeah, and then talking about like Laserdisc and how massive they are. They're really big. With like DVD games, which was like the sort of 90s edition of it. I guess, like, do you remember like DVDs, like Disney movies always did have something weird on them. I might have a brief overview of that. I think I just knocked my hard drive out, so that's fine. Then the live interactive movies, they're sort of, they're an option, they're like an undernote that like existed for a couple of years, but they're not super prevalent either now or before then. It was just sort of a weird YouTube annotation, since that was a whole one that I saw recently, so I added that in there with the whole the new one, the High Speed Markiplier thing. It's got a whole thing going for it. So that's a new sort of slightly less commercially required way of putting that content out there. And then you've got the video games, which is a whole different rabbit hole. I'm just going to sort of semi-glaze over because that's a deep dive into a different topic, possibly. But I can probably just give the overviews. And then yeah, I don't know what I did. I think it's cracked. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, I think it's died.
Died?
I think it's died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's correct.
Basically, the other ones I think were like.
The next one was on experimentation.
Yeah, I think I put like my use on my
Diagram, yeah.
diagram. I put that up there so I explain the general idea of what I have for it. Doing experimentation, creating something that would work with that, and little things like deciding on what platform to use it for and whatever. And then the one after that was, can't see from over here.
There's not much on it,
No.
maybe conclusion.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably future development thing. So this one.
Oh, yeah.
Click on that
Yeah,
box.
future development.
Number 7, click
Don't
on
worry
it.
about it. I think it's future development. I think I've got it.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what's on there.
Just make some notes.
Honestly, the future development one didn't have a lot on it. It literally had like filler content because I just didn't know what to put for it.
Okay.
I think that's
Future
what I did.
development. Think.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, where we're at right now, it's just because obviously like the 90s and that went from Laserdisc to what we have now, which is probably like still sort of video games, and a lot of it's still a lot of the what's the term I'm thinking of? A lot of the distribution of it and stuff to the is under the banner of video games, but it depends on whether you count it as a video game or you count it as a film, which is going to be the question. Since a lot of I'm going to probably. Yeah, but basically the future development is going to look. I'm going to look at because obviously it's researching. It's probably going to be it's going to follow. It seems to be in a place right now which looks like future development's widespread, in my opinion.
Could you have individual cinemas?
Yeah.
Like individual, like smaller screen cinemas that like people,
Well,
small
the-
groups of people could go into to
Well, even I don't think that's
like screen
necessary,
interactive
honestly.
content.
Honestly, I don't think that's.
Hey,
gonna
you can
happen.
go wild.
Yeah, I could.
It's
I could say that.
just
What I say is,
research.
I think it's just going to be maintaining where it is right now. Because honestly, the future development of it is probably just going to. Well, like you could get into like VR and stuff, but it probably wouldn't vibe as well. It probably could happen. Fine.
That's okay. You don't need to kind of
Not
pass any
everybody has
judgment
gold
on
headset.
this
No.
kind of thing because obviously
Honestly,
those are on
it's probably just gonna,
positions.
it seems to be in a good place. It's probably just going to change with technology as it comes out.
You could just say maybe there'll be more like
Yeah.
films like that are
The-
easily available like this.
Honestly, like, the only thing I can think of is maybe like if they start going to like mobile stuff, you might be able to like do it.
I'm just going to stop us there because actually the presentation obviously wasn't actually so much about presenting
Yeah, I don't
possible
know.
research
I just
outcomes,
sort of-
more
it started that and I just
more
sort of went
how
off
are you
and I
going
tried
to be doing the
Yeah.
research. So
That's
that's why
the
we don't need
research,
to actually
yeah.
go into the ins and outs of what we
Yeah.
actually think those findings might
I mean,
be.
honestly, I've got my primary research. It's just that lovely
Yeah.
diagrams, my sort of general idea, and a few of those.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things
And
that I
I'm
was
stuck on Laserdisc now.
So, I don't, so first of all, so well done. I'm just gonna cut off on that one. Any kind of immediate questions from here?
With your technology mix.
You mean this thing that's stuck on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's stuck on screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
From like in my opinion, it's not necessarily that much of a technology mix. You're kind of listing different technologies,
Yeah.
but they're not necessarily the
Alright.
technologies that you need to
Yeah, sort of
run
like-
it as such. Like, could you maybe? Obviously, you don't need to stand here and explain it to me. Like,
Yeah.
but like maybe think more about the process of how it's done now, and I don't know, just a slight brief bit into the like technical ins and outs of how it works, just for like a basic viewer. So if someone's watching it, they kind of understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And part of the issue with that is that the current big one is Bandersnatch, and Netflix is real handsy on keeping that content to themselves.
There's a big or long YouTube video of a conference where actually one of the executives is actually talking with the technology behind that. It's a good 2 hours of life. It's quite in depth.
That's what you're gonna
That's
do
the
tonight.
That's the
When
actual
you're up at 3 a.m.
underpinning technology and how they are planning on.
I'm staying around Cambridge.
No, you're not.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay, so couple of things. So I mean, what's very good what you were saying with the technology. I mean, it's good that you've got an awareness. Basically, it's kind of a nearly historical awareness of the technologies that can bring these products in different ways to customers, even though obviously some of them might be superbly niche. I mean, I don't know, Laserdisc games. I remember like back in the 80s. I mean,
Yeah, I mean the whole.
There wasn't really much.
No, I mean even more. I was sort of putting it. The Laserdisc is just there because it's a historical standpoint and sort of popularity point for it. But really, all of it is just available today on modern systems.
In terms of your research, what are you going to do for secondary research?
Secondary, I had trouble finding books.
Yeah.
I still have not seen much. It's all very video game based, and even then it doesn't give me much for what I'm looking for. It's talking very much about the mechanics of it, rather than the, I guess, story slash elements and like less. Hey, this video game engine does this rather than the web engine and that stuff. But yeah, I've got a lot of like articles and stuff about the resurgence of FMV video games and stuff and films.
Okay. So the other part is obviously in connection with the research question: when does a movie become a game or a game become a movie?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that surprised me that obviously you weren't going to go into video games as such, even though that is obviously the technology that we're talking about,
I mean,
on the cusp.
It's also like I think it's more I was going to talk about it in. What's the word I'm thinking of? There's a word I'm thinking of, I can't remember it because my brain is giving up.
Like the semantics of it? Or
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go into like the full detail, like, oh, do this, this. It's more of a concept like, yeah. Like, because obviously, it sort of started becoming a video game in like 1980 something, because Laserdisc was technically video games.
Yeah, no, I know, but we're talking about you're talking about can they ever become, so obviously you need to talk about the cusp. Where are we at, how close
I think it's one of the later slides, but it might be one of the dead ones, I think.
Okay.
Where I was going to say, if I'm going to compare and like talk about modern, contemporary is what I was trying to think of, I think a word. Contemporary examples and sort of give them context to whether or not they count as necessarily as a video game or a film
I guess
towards the larger scale and stuff.
Defining, in a sense, what you haven't said you're going to do, but what I feel like it's probably just because it's so obvious that you'd need to do it is actually defining what a film as such is and what a game is, and then sort of describing roughly what your set definitions are for your research, if that makes sense. And I don't know, I guess it's just an obvious thing, but it came into my mind as like
one thing I was going to consider doing was just sort of going and looking at examples and trying to possibly see if there was a sort of correlation as to if there's a percentage of, say, so like for example, I can't look at my examples because my thing's broken, but you got your modern FMV games, like you got your what was the one? She Sees Red, I think was the one I was looking at before. And it's like, is it just because it's live action that it counts as a film, or would things like Detroit Become Human count, because they're basically the same thing, just one is computer generated with actors playing it, and one is live action with actors doing it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly. That would be kind of interesting to kind of see. Is there, in terms of primary research, because one of the things that I'm starting to kind of think is what are your visuals going to be? What kind of primary research do you have that goes, I mean, you've got your own experimentation that flows into it. Do you have any outside voices, any kind of other...
What I was going to try and do, because I'm actually kind of curious about this, is going to try and go and talk to maybe gaming students and ask them what they would consider to be, since that's their sort of sector, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
To see what they have an input on this sort of like an opinion is, because that probably leads to more, because I mean, like, it's not really a game, it's probably more a movie. Or just get opinions.
Like, basically, just make a list of all the ones you found that could be a game or could be a film, and then be like, is this a game or is it a film?
Or just give them like a 1 to 10 and just put on a scale.
Game or film?
Yeah. That might be something I'll do. Because I've already started talking to some people just in casual conversation about it, because it's been on topics and stuff.
Or just give them.
And like certain ones it's been kind of divisive, where especially like Detroit Become Human, which is apparently my good example now, because directed by David Cage, it's got like actual actors in it and stuff, so it's all very much, the only difference is it's in a game engine, and there's QuickTime events. So there's the two things, but even then, a lot of people argue, well, it's just like a film where occasionally, you know, you make a decision, you press a button.
So there's not really action in it.
Well, there is, but it's like you press a button and it does the thing. If you miss the button press, it just
So
does a
like the
different
Telltale
thing.
thing.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's Telltale is an FMV essentially,
Okay.
which is just sort of adjacent to this. So it's like, is Telltale,
A movie
well, it's the Telltale Walking Dead, is it really just a sort of movie with interactive elements, or is it a video game with movie elements?
I guess that's quite interesting.
This is gonna drive you mad. You're gonna be sitting in your room with like string and.
It's going to be the bit from Always Sunny, just like.
Yeah.
If I follow this
Good.
straight.
No, good. I mean, certainly really interesting, and yeah, you just need to kind of be very clear with your parameters, with what is in, what is out, and you know, keep
No rabbit
serving,
holes.
keep serving
That's what I'm trying to avoid.
your question with a kind of nice conclusion, and
If you-
maybe
if
a
you
projection
need to go-
forwards.
If you find that you need to go out to a shop to buy thread, you know you've gone too far.
One of
I've
the
got
things,
flowcharts.
Yeah.
one of the things as well is
Stop, you can't see the flowchart.
going forward. You know, there's always in the media industry talks about, you know, cut-offs of, you know, when does something become something else. So for example, the
Yeah.
recent
Look at the screen.
or a more recent controversy was the one where the Netflix film could be entered into the Oscars.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so when does a streaming film, you know, become a movie?
What was it that you get through?
I never understand it. 'cause
Well,
it's
it
still a
and
film.
it ended up going through in the sense that Netflix now does limited releases for some of their best films in cinemas.
Oh, I
Such
saw
as
that.
obviously for Roma they did that. They had a
I was
very
about to
limited.
say Netflix have got films that have won Oscars.
I say, I know
Roma, I
they
think.
were doing it with The King, the one that's just come out. I know
Yeah.
that was having limited
Yeah,
release in.
because they want them to be eligible for those things, and
So is that like one of the criteria of the Oscar? You have to have it.
it seemed to be there, but they had to spell it out, and there was quite a hoo-ha about
Just
it.
like-
But you will
yeah,
see
the
that
diagram.
that whole
I
kind
think
of
people see the diagram, can't they?
you know,
Photoshop.
what will be interesting is obviously
Did you build
with
that?
films and games.
Oh,
What
no.
are the award categories going to be?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, yeah, because that's a point. Because I think there's even like when video game awards, I think there's a specific one for that one,
love to win an
which
Oscar.
is like, is it video game? Was it?
Yeah,
Where do you
well,
start?
Right, start here.
Okay.
You're going down this way.
Yeah.
Option, option. Go that way. Option,
Right, let's
option.
go.
That way, option.
Okay.
Right, option. Okay, it's really simple to
draw.
understand. Okay.
No, what's that word say? Get caught.
That's an end point. Okay, so it's going towards
okay,
it.
right, okay. So yes. Okay. So,
That's all.
okay, leave door open.
It's getting dark now, isn't it?
Close door.
What's it do in the dark?
Escape. Okay.
We need it to do this.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks.
Convoluted. That makes no sense, but yeah.
Good overview. All right. I'm just very time conscious, so we're going to really power through it. So we will be now.
Now we can project some shadow puppets.
No, we're going to be having a very quick meeting, and then it should be also dark enough very soon.
Can I project my face onto something?
I'm forgetting that was obviously still that thick.
A chonk.
A chonk.
A chonk.
Isn't that what you call a fat white cat or dog?
Anything that looks a little bit hefty is a chonk.
Anything chunky.
I am a chonk.
A chonk.
What does it mean if you conk? What?
You conquer the world.
Why do you say things?
Yeah.
Do you want to know why I say things? So one day I'm going to choke you out. And everyone's like, oh,
Come
yeah,
on,
it's dripping.
come on,
Do it again. Okay. Yes, Daddy.
I knew that was coming.
So the Jack.
Eh.